Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Boy, that was loud. Good evening, and welcome to the Planning Board for March 6, 2017. The first matter we have on is a continued public hearing from last month. This is a site plan review and a special permit application for 984 Central Street. The applicant is proposing to construct 6 new townhouse units that includes garage parking and 2 additional parking spaces in front of each unit. The site is located in the urban mixed-use zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing the applicant, Berkeley Development. We did take your advice at the last meeting, and we have revised our plan. We have reduced the number of units down from 6 to 5. We have more than doubled the snow storage area. We've had two additional areas, one on either side of one on one side of the building and one up a little in the back. We've moved the building back. It's now almost 3 feet back from the public way. It was 1.8 before. Our engineer, who unfortunately got stuck and can't be here tonight, but did personally meet with the water department to go over the water lines, and he's revised the plan, and he's presented where the water lines are going to be, and it's my understanding that they're satisfied with that. As far as the snow storage areas are concerned, we will, depending on what this board wants, but we're willing to install a 6-foot-high either vinyl or cedar fence along the abutters property line at 13 Bunker Avenue to to block it out and stop any snow from going over there. As far as the what is this? Mark also met with the city engineer, and she advised him that it's not possible to have 2 parking spaces in front of the unit. So that's been reduced to 1. We're also going to construct a concrete pad to go in with planting strip on either side, where we can put, probably best to put grass there because I don't think flowers would last, but put planting strips on either side. As far as her comments concerned, we will work with her to resolve all of those issues. As far as landscaping concerned, we've shown some landscaping on the new plan, but we will work with the DPED to come up with a plan that's satisfactory to the city. And we submitted a sweep path study to the fire department, and they have come back and said that there's sufficient room to get into that site. So I think those were the issues that we had last time, and I think we've addressed all of them. We've made the changes that you wanted, and I'm here to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Counsel. Anybody else want to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, anybody want to speak in opposition? Just come to the microphone, please. Give your name and address. Thank you, sir.
This isn't Academy Drive. This is a different project.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Okay. Okay, on Central Street, anybody want to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none at this point, I'll turn it over to any questions the board members may have. Any of the board members have any questions? Before I turn it over to all the board members, Mr. Flood, did you get the new updated comments from planning staff?
The ones that came out, I got some
Yeah, we had
comments
March
today.
13th and revised 3-3.
Yep.
The only question I had, just looking at this when I was reading it over, and something didn't cover, was through the building department, how they had the concerns on how close the structure will be to the existing sidewalk. The likelihood of the footing being dug under the walk and into public ways seems imminent, if not avoidable. It may even project into and beyond the lot line?
That's the same comment, Mr. Chairman, that they made the last time we
Right.
moved the building back, and there shouldn't be any problem.
Okay, so, I know you moved the building, so, and then, so, on the same concern they talked about, I also have the concerns about the pedestrian protection on the walkway, maintain the 4-foot walkway and the required 6-foot barrier from the street. So how far back is the building moved from the sidewalk now?
It's 3 feet back from the sidewalk, and I think, as we said before, if we damage the sidewalk at all during construction, we'll be glad to bring it back to the condition it was before. But I think, too bad Mark's not here, but this shouldn't affect the,
Yeah, okay, I
Sidewalk
just
at all.
remember that was there last time, and
yeah.
I was looking at
It's
it
the same-
again.
It's the same comment.
Okay. But it's, you feel that it's been moved back, so that would not have that concern?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, there was this one that jumped out at me, but I'll still let any of the board members have any comments, anything they want to add?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Boyle.
I have the same concern about this project that I did on Moore Street, which is that we seem to have 3 stories, the end of it facing Crosby Street, based on the elevation I've got here, is 3.5 stories of unbroken vinyl siding. Then that is the facade that they choose to present to what is really the more of a main street. I think that there needs to be a facade plan for that is more appropriate. I'd like to see the windows on the 2nd and 3rd story continued around the side. I'd like to see the stucco design continued around the side. I'd like to see those little octagonal windows on the garage level continued around that side. And if possible, I'd like to see the front door of that unit come in off of Crosby Street. Something similar to what we did at the Sacred Heart School site with the side of that.
Well, the cars came in the back, and we had the front facing Andrew Street and facing Moore Street like it was the front entrance, but really the entrance was in the back.
Yeah,
And that's what I think we tried to do here. This is very...
I like what you've done with the driveway coming in the back, like you've done there, but I'm talking about the facade, the front doors and the windows and the design of the building as it's presented to the street. Right now, we've got a side of a row of townhouses, a blank side of a row of townhouses facing out towards the street. We didn't allow that on Moore Street, and I don't think we should allow it here either.
Well, we had separate lots on Moore Street. We had six separate lots. We had duplexes, condexes. They were all separated. This is very similar to what this board approved on, what's his name, put on the corner just up the street. Basically the same design. But
Where?
Gorham Street, right in the corner.
Right. I wasn't here at that.
Brian McGowan, it was Brian McGowan's project, but it's basically the same design.
I wasn't here at that time. Was that a corner lot?
It went all the way around, and then it's in the back too.
Uh-huh.
So, and then,
Okay, so it's not a side of a row of townhouses, that is the facade facing the street, like we
yeah,
have
the
here.
townhouses face the street.
The townhouses face the street.
Yeah, and it's the same same entrance. You go in and you go up to the first floor.
Right, and that's all fine. The problem is the end. We've got a side facing out, and it's out towards Crosby Street. And not only is it the side instead of the front, which I could be flexible on, but it's a blank side. There's no windows, there's no treatment, there's no detailing at all. It's 3.5 blank stories of vinyl siding. I don't think that we should do that to this neighborhood.
So you're suggesting you would like a window on the side facing Crosby Street in the 2nd and 3rd floor? We have the bump out
Something
for
like
the
that.
utilities on the garage side.
Yes. Yes, and that's towards the front, the side of the front entrance as opposed to over towards the back. Yeah, I don't think that that's the right design element either. I think that would be a more appropriate place for the front door, especially looking at the unit plans and where the living room would be. But yeah, I would like to see, based on the width, at least 2 windows on each story.
On that side?
On that
the Crosby
side.
Street side, small windows?
You know, the specific details of how to design this are something that usually the applicant brings to the board, and then the board reviews,
we
as
did, but-
opposed to the board trying to design it at the meeting.
This is basically the same design we had last time, Mr. Boyle, and nothing was said about that side, so I'm trying to get a feel from what you want, and then Mr. Miller's here, and he can, say what he'll do.
I think what I want is for a,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff Miller from Berkeley Development. Mr. Boyle, from looking at the plans here, we could probably throw a window at the top of the stairs on the side.
you know, I was looking at this.
It wasn't
and-
brought up last time, right? Could have had it put in. It's,
Yeah, yes, I was looking at that.
the bedrooms is gonna be tough because they don't have a lot of wall space anyways. And there's closets over there, and there's a stair over there, so that wouldn't work.
Yes, is there a reason that you couldn't do a mirror image for that, of what you've got here as the end unit? The way, for example, you have the second from the left unit with the stairway on the left side. That way you'd have the living room and kitchen would both have those blank walls facing out to the street.
I'd have to talk to the architect on that. I can't comment on that, but as far as windows, from looking at this, I could probably put an octagon window at the top of the stairs in the hallway, and then do a window on the first floor on that side of, was it Crosby? I don't have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, towards
That's not a
towards the
problem.
street
I'm
side.
sure that's not a structural deal, as long as it's not on a carrying beam. It could be, if it's on a carrying beam, you can't put a window in there.
Yes, and if a decent facade design can't be done with the unit facing this way, then it would have to be reversed to allow for the, that bedroom and that living room to have windows on both sides, and then going up the additional unit to have those 2 bedrooms each have windows on both sides.
Yeah, as long
were
as it's
you
not,
plan-
as long as it's not a bearing wall, I don't see a problem.
Were you planning on continuing that, is that stucco that you're doing on the first floor?
It's actually cultured stone.
Oh, very
It's better
nice.
than stucco.
Yes, it is, very nice.
Yeah.
Were you planning on continuing that around the Crosby Street side?
Well, the comment you guys had, you wanted it in the front, so we just drew it in the front.
Yes.
I can see, there's gonna be shrubs on the sides, both sides.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
It'll be kind of expensive to be hiding it, you know?
Yes, that's.
No, there'll be shrubs on both sides, because we wanna
Well,
decorate it, you know?
yeah, yes.
You have to
there-
sell
there
it.
have to be landscaping on both sides.
Yeah.
Yes, but we keep referring to this as the side. As per our zoning, a corner lot like this has 2 fronts.
Oh, I
It has
understand, I'm
2
looking at
frontages.
the, I'm looking
It
at the
doesn't
building.
have- The sides are the ones that don't face towards the street. It has 2 fronts and 2 sides. And what's facing out on Crosby Street is a front. I don't think, given the scale of this, that it needs to be taken quite as far as the Moore Street property, where we actually turned that side into a front. But I think it needs to go, I think it needs to be treated as a front. It needs to be treated as a facade that is facing the street, not a facade that's facing the back or even a facade that's facing the neighbor. It's a front in the sense that this is the face that you're turning towards the world. Crosby Street's actually more of a main street than what you have your current front on. So, yeah, I think that what goes on the front should be windows and should be that nice cultured stone element you're giving.
Just on that side?
Yes, absolutely just on that side.
All right.
We're not, because we're talking about
I'm
this
sure, as long as
facing
those
the
windows,
street.
like I said, if they're not in a bearing wall, I don't have a problem with it.
And
It actually helps us, it gives more light, but in the bedrooms, it's kind of tough because people don't have enough wall space, they're small,
Yes,
small
I-
units, you know?
I think we need to approve there needs at some point to be an approved facade plan for this.
What did he say? I didn't hear him.
Perhaps this is one that,
I don't think he heard you, Mr.
I
Boyle.
didn't hear what you
Sorry.
said, Joe.
I think what we're going to need to do is to see a plan and then approve it. Whether we need to hold up the
Well, you can just put a
permitting
continuance.
process and see that before we take a vote, or whether we make that a condition of some action we take. You know, we can decide what we want to do there. Usually what we do with landscaping is to get a plan approved by staff. I know there are some excellent design planners available in the DPDs. Is this something that staff
I
would
don't,
be
no.
comfortable with as a condition?
Yeah, that's something we've done in the past, so we would be comfortable doing that
Okay.
as a
Okay.
condition.
The same thing goes with the landscaping. What you're showing on your plan is a strip of plantings right next to the side, which is, you know, a very nice treatment for a side. But where this is going to be more of a front, just to give that another, I'd like to see another shot taken at the landscaping design, keeping in mind you're designing this to be a front that looks like it. If, for example, you were to move the door, instead of adding a window, turning that door around so that it faces off the Crosby Street side, then I'd want to, you know, the landscaping would have to incorporate the walking path up to that door, much like we did on Moore Street.
You mean a fake door?
No, I'm talking about if it's possible to take the door from that unit that's near the corner and move it around to the other side of the corner.
That's,
Utility room's right there.
The utility room's right there as it's shown now. I think that designing a facade that is adequate here is going to require doing the mirror image unit in that space so that you have those other walls. Maybe you can come forward with a design as things are laid out now that presents a perfectly good front-looking facade. I think it's going to require flipping that unit.
so what do you do in the front of the unit on Butler?
You just, you continue it as is. You've got the, you're using those octagonal windows in the cultured stone.
So no,
That's in the utility rooms. Those windows will go in the utility rooms.
Oh, well, from the exterior, they're a nice design feature. You break, you know, you perforate
Below
the.
glass, you won't be able to see in, but it's still a utility room.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And the addresses are all supposed to be on the front of this from the engineering. To put a door on the side, and we'll have to get, I don't think you can with the stairs in the utility. I'd have to talk to the architect on that one.
Look,
You gotta come in and go straight up.
right.
Now you have a landing, and people moving furniture in aren't gonna be happy. You know what I mean? The buyers. If
Yes,
they
I
get-
understood buyers. I'm not entirely sure about the detail about why it wouldn't work to have the door face that way instead of the other way if you turn the unit. But I don't think that these are, this is the level of detail that we should have here. I think that getting a facade plan, that a condition for a facade plan after the fact ought to be satisfactory. Same thing, by the way, as I was saying, with landscaping, I'd like to see a landscaping and facade plan presented for that side. I think we were probably going to ask for, if we follow the comments, we were probably going to ask for a landscaping plan to be approved by staff anyway, to take into account that fencing issue that you brought up, also trees. Looks to me like there's space on that side for a tree between the building and the street. I'd really like to see that if it's possible to do.
on which side,
On the Crosby Street side. It looks like there's enough of a.
I don't think there's more room on the other side than on the Crosby Street side, I think. Talking over
There
here.
is trees there.
There are-
Shows it right here.
Yeah, but he's talking a street tree, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, another, yes, that's up to planning staff. I suspect that planning staff was going to be pushing at least one largish shade tree on the site to overhang over the pavement. They're usually looking for that, and, I'd like to see that too. Okay, other than the landscaping and the facade, trees. Oh, and in that landscaping, there's this comment here, specific comment number 3, about the concrete walkways that you're showing for the pedestrians in the back. There's a question if you're going to be installing planters there. I think that's something to take up in the landscaping plan.
Well, I think I mentioned we were probably gonna put grass beside the concrete, because people are gonna get out of their cars and walk through the flowers, so
Right.
that's what I think we were talking about.
Okay, like I said, this is a
Yeah.
detail for our landscaping plan. Sounds good to me. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Mr. Malovich, any questions,
I
comments?
just have one comment, as I had at the last meeting on this. The snow storage area that is furthest from the street, you pushing, I guess, the left side of this thing. There was a concern about, you had mentioned some kind of barrier to make sure it doesn't encroach on that neighbor. Because
gonna
their
put it-
property line is, the house is just about on the property line.
Yeah, we're gonna put, what I was proposing, Bob, was putting either a vinyl or a cedar fence inside the existing chain link fence, which would block that from going on the property.
Okay.
That's what I said.
That, my only concern was
Yeah.
that something like that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing else.
Mr. Snetsky?
Yes, first, I'm pleased that the applicant listened to some of the things we had to say at the last meeting, and was willing to reduce the units from 6 to 5, I think, to show a good faith, and I think it was appropriate. I'm glad to see that the snow storage has been improved, and particularly as it backs up to, 13 Butler. Just for our own information, was there any meeting held with that property owner or any
No.
discussion?
No.
But the fact that we don't see them here tonight, I'm assuming that, their
Well, I think-
concerns have been addressed here.
Yeah, their concerns would probably be addressed with that fence going there in it.
Though, the site is tight, it's challenged, and that's, we're not gonna change that, but I'm glad to see that, these issues have been addressed, and on that basis, I'd be able to support it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Similar to what Mr. Sinetsky said, is that certainly we had concerns that we raised at the previous meeting, that the applicant has come back with some revisions, and I understand we didn't touch base on that facade on Crosby Street, but I think Mr. Boyle has a very valid point with that. And wanting to make sure we have that as a condition. I just had visions of the old Mother Hubbard when, we had a plan showing windows in particular spots, and then we had to do a site visit to see that, the internal layout didn't allow for the windows that were actually approved, so.
Well, that's true, and I think if something was said last time, we would have done it differently. I know there was concern about a bump out on there to cover the utilities, and that's what we did, so, but we'll work around that, and we'll work with staff.
Yeah, and I think if you can wrap around the cultured stone, I think that would, because to Mr. Boyle's point, that's probably gonna be the most visible part of that development versus what's on Butler Street. Butler Street's a very
Very narrow.
very narrow. As a matter of fact, truthfully, you're not gonna get, being on Butler Street, you're not gonna be able to appreciate the building as much, to be able to really see it, because
one
you
way
have.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think actually the stone from the street level will add some character to that, that actually would, I think, be pleasing to the eye. There's, and I look at the dimensional table requirements, most of the requirements in a UMU zone is really taking a look at what's in the surrounding area. I did go back and measure the homes, the setbacks. They range from 6 feet to the curb to 13 feet to the curb. So I think you're right, you're right in line
Right there, yeah.
with what's there. I did that on Saturday, it was cold.
Dedicated person to go out in that cold. That was really
But,
good.
yeah, no, I think at that point, it fell right in line with what was there. You know, I just think that, similar to what was discussed, we'd be looking for the landscaping plan, the facade plan, Crosby Street, and, I'm pleased to hear that the applicant's willing to put a 6-foot stockade fence, to protect the abutter, the concerns, and then adding the additional snow storage. I think the chairman had an excellent point. Actually started getting me thinking about doing calculations of square footage based on how much snow you're trying to remove from impervious surface onto the landscape area, and quite frankly, it didn't add up. You would have had that piled up pretty high.
Yeah, so we get the 2 extra spaces.
And I think there was also in the DPD memo, item number 5, I would be looking in the agreement that you would be willing to remove the snow off the site,
Right.
obviously, if it becomes...
And the condo's responsible for all of that. They're gonna do all of
I
that.
would assume, yeah, because number 4 was regarding the driveway easement.
Yep.
And with an association, that would fall under...
I think we said that before. We're gonna be responsible for that. But I think the most important thing that we got was the report from the fire department that they can get in there and get the trucks in there, so.
Right, yeah, and the fire
That was-
department signed
yeah.
off on that. You've got the required parking. It basically meets the requirements of the dimensional requirements based on the criteria that's spelled out. So, again, I think including the conditions we discussed, as I'm pleased to see the adjustments to the project.
Yeah, I only have a couple of comments, and basically, which echoed for, especially what Mr. Fischett said. I mean, I'm glad to see the more snow storage and the fence. I mean, that really helps. I mean, reducing the 1 unit and getting the report from the fire department is very important. But besides that, I have no further comments.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, yes, Mr.
I
Boyle.
could just follow up. I've been thinking about this more, and I made the comparison to the project on Moore Street at the Sacred Heart site. Well, this basic idea that we shouldn't have these blank ends of townhouses facing out towards the street, I think is pretty much universally applicable. We need some kind of design always on projects like this. However, thinking back to that project, I remember saying that was the most important location on the most important street in Sacred Heart. And I think that we kind of asked for the Cadillac on that one, and we got it. Thinking about this one, this probably isn't even the most important location on Crosby Street. I don't think we need, in terms of a facade plan, a Cadillac of a true front that faces out and looks like a front. I think I'd like to take back my comments earlier about the need to flip the unit in order to create the type of uniform window placement that would make it look like a true front. I think that, just to provide a little guidance to staff, that if we we do get the votes for this condition, that a presentable side, okay, a presentable side is facing the street, would be a more appropriate design guide here than to try to make it a front like we did on Moore Street.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make that a little clearer. Thank you.
Any board members have any further comments? If not, what's the wish of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the project at 984 Central Street, the site plan review and special permit with the following conditions. The applicant to submit and I guess we can word this a facade or end unit plan for the unit facing Crosby Street to include the cultured stone and window placements, subject to final approval by, should be by this body, but with DPD, working with DPD, and if they can't work something out with you, come back to this board for final approval. And subject to a final landscaping plan incorporating the 6-foot stockade fence between 13 Butler Ave and the subject property. And I would also add the applicant to remove the snow from the site if there's a period of significant snowfall that would jeopardize parking spaces on the site.
So let me just take this way, I know we need a site plan review and a special permit, so we'll take that first as the motion for the site plan. Is that acceptable, Mr. Fischel?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor for the approval with the site plan with basically 3 or 4 conditions. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Malovich, second the motion. All in favor of the site plan being approved with the conditions, state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any against? Hearing none, so that motion carries 5 in favor and none against. And Mr. Fischel also made the motion to approve the special permit with the same conditions as outlined in the site plan review. So we have a motion for the special permit with the same conditions. Do we have a second on that as well? Okay, Mr. Snetsky, second that. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Hearing none, chair votes yes. Those motions carry.
Thank you.
So the site plan, the special permit is approved. Good luck. Thank you.
We should always be thinking about that on these. Okay, what have we got next? Oh.
They submitted this.
Okay, moving along on the agenda, our next matter is a site plan review and special permit approval for number 19 and 20 Academy Drive. The applicant is proposing to convert a former Merrimack Valley Hebrew Academy located at 19 and 20 Academy Drive into 8 residential housing units. The applicant is seeking a special permit under section 8.1 to convert the existing structure previously used as religious school and site plan review under 11.4 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pass these out before.
Sure.
And I have one other document that was just delivered to us. When we were here front of the Board of Appeals last week. We had an abutter that had some concern about the parking, and he has now submitted us a letter in support of this project, which I'd like to give to you.
Sure. Oh, that wasn't in this packet, it was additional, okay, all right. Oh, thank you, all right.
For the record, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, Mass., representing the Montefiore Synagogue, which is the owner of the property at 460 Westford Street. And with me tonight from the synagogue are James and Colleen Mitchnick. Colleen is the president of the synagogue. And Talmadge Adams LLC, who owns the property at 19 and 20 Academy Drive. And tonight we have Bill Cowan, who is the manager of Talmadge, Dan Hill, who's the corporate counsel, and Andy Rojas, who's the architect for this project. As the notice said, we are here tonight for site plan approval and also a special permit for the conversion of the former Merrimack Valley Hebrew Academy into 18 residential 1 and 2 bedroom units at 19 and 20 Academy Drive. We were before the ZBA last Monday for various dimensional requirements and also for parking variance, and those were granted. And I think Christine listed all of those in the memo that was handed out to you people today. So the plan that was submitted to you people proposes to subdivide the property into 3 separate lots. Lot 1 would be the existing synagogue, which would now contain 19,536 square feet. Then there's Lot 1A, which is a portion of the former courtyard of the school, which contains 2,236 square feet, which will become a portion of Lot 2, which is the school building, and Lot 2 would be the school building. And with the addition of Lot 1A, we'd have 22,228 square feet. You want to point those out, Dan, or?
Sure. You guys see that right over there? Or do you want? Sure, and anybody in the audience have to see that, or
Is there?
if you can bring it right up to one of those tables, would be fine. Try not to. Sure. And you'll have to use one of those mics to just hit the. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You just hit the button there to make sure the green's on, sir, when you see the
Okay.
button below the green?
I got it, thank you.
I think Attorney Flood was breaking it up into 3 parcels, right?
Correct, so this is the synagogue parcel right here. This is the lot that's going to be conveyed by the synagogue to Talmadge Adams, this 2,000 square foot strip. And then the rest of the property is all of this area here, which is the former Hebrew Academy parcel, and that is a separate legal parcel from the synagogue, and that is the parcel that was taken for non-payment of taxes and then foreclosed.
It is currently a separate lot.
It is.
Okay.
19 and 20 is separate.
Okay.
I want to go through a little of the history so you know why we're here and how we're here tonight, but according to the records at the City of Lowell Assessor's Office, the synagogue was originally constructed in 1970. Also in 1970, the synagogue purchased some vacant land, which is the piece that
Can we see the previous one? I think Mr. Flood's trying to point to.
No, it's the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
it's
don't know
in-
if you're pointing to one of the
I
parcels.
put it in your package, but it's the piece that the school, it's located in the back, and I think I did it in orange on your exhibit. It's a small piece of property that they bought from the Parker family right behind the synagogue. And I've also included a copy of the deed from the Parker family. In September of 1977, several members of the synagogue decided that there was a need for a Hebrew school in the Highland section of the city, and they formed a Chapter 180 charitable corporation called Merrimack Valley Hebrew Academy, Inc. And I've given you a copy of the articles of organization. And in accordance with the article, the purpose of this corporation was to present and teach an outstanding general studies curriculum, and to present and teach the Hebraic, Judaic culture as being a living experience through its Hebrew curriculum and associated activities and an ability to understand and speak the Hebrew language. So this, based on that, in 1986, the synagogue just started getting plans and hiring architects and getting building permits to construct this building. And it was completed in 1988. In 1988, they conveyed that parcel that they got from the Parkers, which I gave you the original deed for, to the Hebrew Academy, separate entity. In 1984, in furtherance of those corporate purposes, the Merrimack Valley Hebrew Academy also purchased a piece of vacant land from the Union National Bank, which was the rear portion of the Pine Street branch, which is the location of the existing parking lot and the basketball court. I've outlined that in orange in that plan, but that's where that came from. So at that point in time, the Hebrew Academy owned 19 and 20 Academy Drive. The school began to operate in 1988, and in 2003, for various financial purposes, it was forced to close. Nothing took place there, and finally, the city of Lowell decided that since it was not pursuing their corporate purposes and they were no longer a nonprofit, they decided to tax it. And they were taxing it close to $30,000 or $40,000 a year. The taxes weren't paid, the city placed a lien on the property, the city had the sale of tax liens, Talmadge Adams LLC purchased the tax lien, they went through the land court, they foreclosed, and I've given you a copy of the judgment in 2015 where they acquired title to this back piece. So that's how this is how this whole transaction started. But after acquiring title, Talmadge Adams decided they better have a plan done before they started to decide what they're gonna do with it. And lo and behold, when they had the plan done, the building, a portion of that building was located on the synagogue piece, not on the piece that the school was intended to be built on. So that's why we had to separate this all into different pieces. And Dan dealt with the school, and they settled the differences. They came to a settlement agreement, and that's, based on that, that small little parcel is going to be conveyed to Talmadge Adams so they can make it part of this whole development. And I think if you people had an opportunity to go up and see this building, you'll see it was very well constructed. It's like a fortress. And the building is truly a landmark to the preservation of the Jewish cultures, customs, and religion. And it was constructed in the city, section of the city that was traditionally a Jewish neighborhood. So it is a landmark to the Jewish customs in that area. As I stated in my narrative, the proposed promotes the goals of the city of Lowell by preserving a significant neighborhood building by enabling it to be adapted to a new use, but retaining its exterior presence. So it's, we're going to stay the same, but now we're being able to readapt it without having to tear it down, cause noise, damage to the neighborhoods, and it's a good use for this property. It's consistent with the uses in the neighborhood. I've given you, I did a schedule, I studied the whole neighborhood, and I gave you a breakdown of what the homes in that neighborhood consist of, whether it be the Park House condominium, I think is 40 units, there's some 8 units, there's some 2 units, and there's very few single units. So the use in that whole neighborhood is very much multi-family. Christine did a very good job outlining the requirements for conversion. If you want to go over them, now we can do it. But she did a very good job. Has to have minimum lot area per the zoning. Well, that was one of the variances that we requested from the Board of Appeals, and that was granted. We need at least 2 parking spaces per unit, and our parking lot, as shown on the plan, consists of 16 parking spaces, which conforms. The exterior design is not substantially altered. We intend to keep the design basically the way it is. The original building is not increased more than 10%. Well, it's going to stay the way it is. We have the architect here that it can explain what the building is going to consist of. There is sufficient usable open space. There's no more than 4,300 square feet of usable open space. And we obtained all the required dimensional requirements to make this building, make it conform. It has sufficient frontage. We are here for special permit and also site plan review. And it basically conforms with the requirements for a conversion. There were some additional comments. Wastewater said the existing water line down Academy Drive is only 2 inches. They want an 8-inch water line down the street, which we've agreed to do. The building department had some concern in the event that the synagogue wants to sell in the future, and they wanted to expand the building in that little square. Then the new buyer would have to make the additional meet more requirements in the building code, fire code. We've agreed to put an 8-inch water line down the street, and one issue came up with the city engineer because Western Street was just repaved. So I had sent her a letter, and I think you have a copy in your package. And I personally have spoken with her. She wasn't satisfied with that, but she's going to come up with another proposal because I don't think she can hold this project hostage, and we will work with her to make sure that the roadway is repaired and repaved when we cut into it. And traffic, well, we have 16 spaces. That's all that's required. The Zoning Board of Appeals had some concern in the future if there was a traffic situation. They asked us to consider coming back in 6 months with a new parking plan, which we've had prepared, and I put it in your package, where we've gone from 16 spaces to 21 spaces if it's required. So that's basically why we're here tonight. The architect can explain the building. We're here to answer any questions. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and we'll go from there. Yeah,
Yes, you can use that one. Just, you're gonna push the button so the green light goes on, so it amplifies, so.
Good evening. I'm Andy Rojas, principal of Rojas Design Architects, Landscape Architects and Planners in Boston. And been working on this for a while, the owners. Basically, the building is staying precisely in footprint and in structure the way it is. The interior will be completely remodeled. This is a conceptual floor plan of the first floor with the main entrance from Academy Drive being this way. And the colors represent yellow is a common area.
Yeah, right there. Put your head on green. you're
I
all
can't hit that button, yeah. Thank you. So the yellow is common area, and then the kind of peach and blue are just so you can see the different units. So this is a unit, that's a unit, that's a unit, that's a unit, and then this is a piece of another unit that's downstairs. There's a total 8 units. They're all either 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. Completely gut rehabbed inside. There's an existing elevator. There's an existing stair here, and an existing stair, an egress stair from the 2nd level that goes outside here. Those will remain. They'll be brought up to code. There are some code considerations. I mean, this was built in the late 80s. Current Massachusetts Architectural Access Code, as well as the current state building code, will require some modifications to those, egress elements. The floor above, so you can access the floor above through the stair, the elevator, and this other stair here that goes down as an egress. And again, you see that on this level, there's 3 units. A 2-bedroom unit has about 1,000 feet, a 2-bedroom unit about 980, 981, and a 1-bedroom unit, a 2-bedroom unit that shares that little piece on the other floor. And that's a total of about 993 square feet. The units will be completely modern and completely new. Every wall and finish is new. Every component, room, kitchen, bathroom is new. The mechanical system, and we haven't gone too far. I mean, this is really conceptual, but the intent is that all the mechanicals be inside in the basement. This is the lowest level. Again, you can get to it through the stair or the elevator. The mechanical equipment would be housed in the basement. I imagine that there'll be 9 small independent units, 1 for each unit and 1 for the common areas, that will be separately metered and monitored, and contained for each unit in one big space, and then distributed up or down as necessary. In the basement, there's also a 1-bedroom unit and another 1-bedroom unit, each with about, this one's 825, and that's about 993. This one has a little piece upstairs, like you saw before. And there's some common storage area as well. The basement will be, or this lower level, will be accessible directly from the courtyard outside. This door that's existing is at grade at that point. So one of the logical components is to allow complete handicap accessibility through this door. On the first floor, hopefully this will hold. On the first floor, this entire entrance, and again, these were conceptual, but the next, obviously set of drawings that would be a little bit more technical will show that the entire front will also be completely accessible. There'll be an accessibility ramp put in, connecting from Academy Drive from both the street, the pedestrian street, but also from the parking lot, so that everybody will have complete access to the front door, the main door, which is this one, and they'll have complete unobstructed accessibility to the elevator and to any visitable unit. There are no fully accessible units on the first floor. We imagine that if we need a fully accessible unit, it would go in the basement because it has a direct access out. And it would be a much more suitable egress situation. There's no requirement for an accessible unit, given the size of the project and the conversion aspect of the project. The Massachusetts Access Board does not require an 8-unit building that's converting from a school to residential to have accessible units. But I think everybody's on board that it's probably a smart thing to have an accessible unit built into this. But everything else will be fully compliant. In the parking design that you saw there, the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board requirement, again, is that any parking facility of less than 25 cars 25 cars or less would have one accessible parking space. So there will be at least one accessible parking space in the parking lot design. Other than that, in terms of just conceptual elevations, the building is exterior masonry block with some masonry block detailing. It's kind of a corrugated type of, scored block. And then a kind of stucco finish up top. That will remain. There are several repairs that need to be done to it. Everything from pointing to some spalling and all those things have to be dealt with. And there'll be obviously new doors and windows and so on. Happy to answer any other questions about the layout.
None at this time, okay?
Okay, thank
If we
you.
have any questions as we go on, we'll get back to you. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to point out that all of the one-bedroom units are at least 750 square feet, and the two bedrooms are 900 square feet, which is required under the conversion. And as with the prior project, we haven't done a final landscaping plan, but we'll be glad to work with DPT staff to come up with a plan for the site. But we don't have anything definite yet, so. We're here to answer any questions.
Okay,
You want to say anything?
thank you. So the applicant has nothing further at this time? Okay. As indicated, we did receive two letters. I'll read the first one that Mr. Flood gave us. This is from Mark Batten at 11 Academy Drive. As an abutter to the synagogue in the Academy Drive parcel, I am writing and express my support for the proposed conversion of the former Merrimack Valley Hebrew Academy into an 8-unit apartment building. The school structure is well constructed, and 8 residential units will not be detrimental to the neighborhood with the conditions that the Zoning Board of Appeals improved it on its variance decision. I have another letter from Saul Goldman asking that this matter be continued because he's unable to be here this evening. He indicated that he believes that the property was not properly transferred and he has engaged an attorney to confirm that. Then that was one letter dated back February 27th. Then he had a handwritten note on 3/1, requesting that we postpone the meeting to 3/13. And then he had one March 6th. Indicating he could not be here. Mr. Flood, did any attorney, for attorney Mr. Goldman, reach out to you indicating that they didn't have proper, proper transfer of title? No. I believe when the issue came up with the planning staff, when they brought it to my attention, I told them the attorney could come, or he could have somebody, a representative, be present this evening. So Mr. Goldman's not here this evening, I take it? No? Okay. So I read those two letters in as requested.
And just for the record, Mr. Chairman, at the Board of Appeals, there were two other letters of support, one from the synagogue itself, and Colleen had written it, and one from the neighbor here, who is right around the corner. He was in support of it, but he's here tonight, so he can speak.
Okay. All right, so since I read those letters first, at this point in time, I will open it up to the public and hear if anybody who wants to speak in favor. Again, just state your name and address, please. Appreciate it.
My name is Edson Faria. I'm living at 480 West Street, and my house on the corner for Academy Drive. You guys not here the last Monday, and I'm repeat everything I said last week. My concern over there, I have 3 kids, and the people use that building to use drugs, and it's almost every day is I have a lot of people over there, a lot of kids, that use that building to go inside, do I don't know why or what stuff. The police before is go over there almost every day. Now we stop again, and I'm a person. A lot of time I see the people go over there. I go over there and ask if the people cannot be there. Most of the time, the kids, 16, 17 years old. And that's the reason I want to ask you to do something over there. And I think if a building, the condo over there, I think it's good for us. It's good for the reason, the price for my house, and good for the city, of course. And I think that's my point.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in favor?
I'm Colleen Michnick, president of Montefiore Synagogue. Sort of reiterate what Edson is saying, we really are in favor of this building being built or renovated. There's a lot of problems with drugs, with vandalism on that street, on that property, and since we're abutting it, also on our property. So filling that building would be a good thing in that neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Samuel Polton, and although I reside at 16 Berkeley Drive in Chelmsford, grew up in Lowell, graduate of Lowell High School, and own 2 businesses in Lowell, and own property both on Totman Street and 61 Market Street. Very interested in this project because I see it as a unique opportunity for the board to remove an attractive nuisance and create just the kind of a residential area that will bring improvement not only to Academy Drive, but to that whole Westford Street area. I'm a congregant of the Montefiore Synagogue. My parents were congregants, as were my grandparents, when Montefiore was originally located on Howard Street. That historic building was demolished during the Hale Howard renovations. This new location that has been there since 1970 is an important cultural treasure for the Jewish community. It also speaks to Lowell's diversity and the inclusion of all religions, all ethnic groups, all cultures. This is a way to not only improve the neighborhood, but ensure that the Montefiore Synagogue remains as a good neighbor. So, and one more little benefit that I see, the very responsible developers are keeping the exterior of the building. So what a unique opportunity to create 8 housing units, save a Lowell landmark, and have as minimal disruption to the neighborhood as you could possibly imagine. Most of the work, as I understand it, will be done in the interior. The exterior that is in need of repairs will be repaired, and vandalism will cease, the attractive nuisance will cease, and we'll have 8 new families in Lowell to enjoy what I consider the best city in New England, if not on the East Coast. So I strongly urge approval of this, and I'm sure if there are any problems with any of the abutters, those problems can be resolved, and we can get 8 residential units living in harmony with a Lowell landmark, the Montefiore Synagogue, and we will all be better off for this, especially the city of Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? In favor, here and then this time? Anybody like to speak in opposition?
Yes, please.
Just come to the microphone, please, and state your name and address.
Ken Lazarus, 137 Pine Street, Park House Condos. I'm the president of the association. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. None of us were able to make it to the last meeting. And opposition's a little strong. It's not that we oppose, but we definitely have some questions. And listening, I hope we're not the forgotten neighbors here, because we're on Pine Street, and we're proximity-wise probably closer than any of the abutters, just feet away on the other side of the fence on the back of this project. I was able, fortunately, to speak with Mr. Cowan and the architect before, so, gave me some answers to some of our concerns. I would like to get them on the record, however, to make sure, things go well for us, because I represent 30 families. We're 30, somebody said 40, we're 30 units. We've been there since 1985, so right along, with this project when the school started. And I'm happy, we're happy to see it maintained, see the shul maintained. I didn't retain any of my Hebrew from my Hebrew school, but that's okay. But some of our concerns were around the parking, the access to the parking lot. Those open spaces are right outside our front door steps. As soon as you walk out our front door, you go 2 steps, you hit the chain link fence, which hits that open space. And then to the right of that, there's the other open space, which was always a little playground, still has some playground equipment in it. I've been assured that that's going to remain open space. I understand that open space doesn't mean unused space, so I imagine at some point it might be used for something. I would think that if it's going to be used for a playground, I would hope that the city requires some type of permit for that, if that would be the case. I think my concerns were alleviated. It looked like maybe they were going to use part of it as access to the parking lot, but it looks like it will cut off before that. They won't have to get into that, so it will remain green space at this point. So I think we're okay with that. We don't have any concerns there. I think our biggest concern is noise coming from the building on a couple of things. I did speak with the architect about what they plan to do with the HVAC and the air conditioning, if it was going to be a roof unit, which would be a large concern for us, noise-wise. He indicates it probably won't be with the mechanical room currently in the basement, but those plans haven't been finalized yet, so I would, like to be able to get some type of notice if that was to change, so that we could make some type of plan on that. Seeing in the plans that the mechanical room itself is in the back of the building, that could still cause some noise problems. Quite frankly, we're right across from the new, not so new anymore, Maury School, and I'm on the front of that school, and I get a buzz from some generator in that building every once in a while that, keeps me up, quite frankly. It's not loud enough to require anything, but it's loud, you hear it. It's right across the street from my window. So mechanical rooms, generally, they create noise, and that particular mechanical room, I noticed on these drawings, are right in the back of the building, which is within, 50 feet of a unit of our building, which again affects half of our units. We're 30, 15 are in the back, 15 are in the front. So that's a concern. Another concern that we had was that the fence, which is our fence, but over the years has been deteriorated by weeds, and call them weeds, but these are massive jungle things that grow every single year to 8 feet tall. I don't know what they are. They look like bamboo things, and some years we've cut them down. They crawl through our fence, destroy the fence, So again, I've been assured that that would be maintained, and any damage to the fence would be taken care of, so hopefully that will take care as well. Quite frankly, I'm a little shocked here. Maybe that fence, whatever, protects us from some of the issues that have been going on Westford Street with this property. We may have had some intruders that were a result of that, but we haven't had the effect of that on our neighborhood, to be quite honest with you. I'm glad to see that this is going to be straightened up for them over there, and it will obviously help us too. I don't know honestly, just being honest, if 8 units right in our back increases our property value necessarily, because again, it's the back of that that's gonna look the same as it always has. Nothing, except for getting rid of those big weeds, is gonna change back there. So, we're not looking at that. We're good neighbors. We never have any trouble with it. We work with people. We're self-managed. That's the other thing. We couldn't afford to hire lawyers to bring to something like this, so we have to depend on, people doing the right thing for us there. But we definitely don't want to be the forgotten neighbors in this project. We do have some of our residents. We've brought, some people here tonight because we're concerned. We're all, hardworking people here in Lowell. I've been there for 19 years myself in this building, and I guess president for life as it goes. But, we'll enjoy working with them. Maybe we can just have some type of contact with the developer, their representative, just to keep us updated on what's going on. And I appreciate you listening to us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
You got it.
Anybody else in opposition? In opposition? Okay. Okay, at this point in time, I'll turn it over to any board members have any comments? Mr. Boyle, you want to go first? Or?
Okay. I have a question about the operations of the existing synagogue. Do people drive to your services? I'm thinking about the parking demand.
At the synagogue?
Yes.
As she stated at the Board of Appeals meeting, there are probably 10 to 20 families that come to the synagogue, and 5 or 8 cars at any time. So most of them park on the street.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the plans for the exterior? You're fixing the broken concrete, and you're patching concrete, is that it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's some of the concrete block, the CMU units have deteriorated. Any ones that have, deteriorated to the point of failing will be replaced. But mostly it's about pointing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the joints have deteriorated badly, and we've got to point them out. Some of the lintels, have separated from the masonry, and those will have to be repaired. The lintels over windows and doors, just a few. But all of those incidental masonry repairs are scheduled to be done. And any other brick or block repairs will need to be done. The cap at the parapet, the roof cap at the parapet will likely need to be replaced. And, I'm sure there'll be roof work required as well. Other than that, the exterior is in pretty good shape. The windows would need to be replaced to make them more functional for residential, meaning that they operate and that they're not all fixed. They would be in keeping with the period and look of the building. And, obviously the new doors would be made. There'd be all new doors with all new accessible hardware and devices.
So the end stage plan of this still features a lot of bare cinder block material and concrete. There's no plan for paint or any kind of exterior treatments?
No, those materials really aren't suitable really for painting, other than the doors and the window trim and other metal trim that's out there. I think it becomes a huge maintenance headache trying to paint masonry. Mm-hmm. And plus, quite frankly, the aesthetic of the building as it was originally conceived and built is best preserved by keeping the exterior kind of the way it is, with the exception of doors and windows. While it's a bit, brutalist in its design, it's a period piece, and it's a valuable statement of that architectural period. And we feel that the best approach is to, highlight it. I mean, there'll probably be, If you look at the elevation, there's a little awning shown at the entrance over the door and on the side entrance. There'll be some details added to it to soften it and to make it more pedestrian-friendly. But in general, the building facades will remain pretty much, the envelope will remain pretty much the way it is. It's a very solidly built masonry building. And I appreciate the concerns about noise in the basement and the mechanical room, but this isn't a big mechanical plant that's being programmed down there. It isn't like it's a big piece of equipment, one big piece of equipment that's being distributed to to 8 units and the common area. These are going to be small, very quiet, individual residential units that, and quite frankly, inside this masonry box in the basement, it's going to be very hard for sound acoustical transfer to happen. We feel very good that, and very confident that the mechanical system in that location can be done without, having any noticeable impact on neighbors. Other neighbors in the area do have mechanical equipment outside their house, right outside their house. We, didn't think that that was an appropriate approach for this project.
Has there been any internal discussion among staff or any discussion with the applicant about the building's exterior and what you'd like to see?
There's been no discussion about the exterior.
Okay.
Under Section 8, we don't have that purview to look at the exterior and the design of the building.
Okay.
It has to remain the same because it's a historic.
Yeah, it has to be not substantially altered. The exterior design of the structure is not substantially altered. Right, I saw that language. All right. Do you expect any problems with the A&R? Is this will this be an endorsable A&R?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I do wish we had gotten more information about landscaping. I think that needs a little bit more attention. Okay, this comment here from the building department: by locating the lot line as it is proposed, the existing block wall that, this is on the 3rd page of our memo, the existing block wall that completes the private courtyard will have 2 portions of it on the other's property. Was this intentional?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And there are cross easements, that's within that courtyard, cross easements for access
Okay,
on our parties. There's a settlement agreement where there's cross easements.
okay. Is there anything we need to be concerned about there?
I can answer that because I spoke to Christopher McWhite directly, who wrote that comment. He just noticed it and just thought, on the site plan, it would have been cleaner if the lines all met, but he didn't have any actual building concerns. He just thought it might have been an oversight and just wanted to
Okay.
put it on the record.
Okay, good. I was going to bring that to our attention. All right. And I wanted to further, I just wanted to make one further point, which is that this board, no city special permit granting authority can enforce a condition about the DPW and its street opening moratorium.
But if we don't get it, we can't build it, so we're gonna work with her.
Yes.
We'll try to get it done, we're gonna work with her.
There's,
It's just a question of how far out she wants us to go to repave, to mill and repave. That's what we're discussing, so.
okay.
She was very good when I talked to her.
That's good. Well, I wish you the best of luck there. I'm just wishing to point out that wishing you the best of luck there is pretty much all this board would be able to do on that issue.
Yeah, I know.
And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Any other board members have any comments? Rich, mind if I start with you, Mr. Lockhart?
No, you've done a very good job explaining what the interior is gonna look like and your mechanical space and everything. I just question, I have a plan in front of me, looking for site plan approval, I believe. The only site plan I have in front of me is labeled existing conditions site plan. Is it,
That's the plan we presented, Mr. Lockhart, because of the three separate lots.
all right, there's no enhancements to the,
The existing
I
building and it's a
include
conversion.
landscaping, so this is the plan we're voting on?
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's really all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Fischett, any questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments that, Mr. Lazarus, I just want to make sure, I was just looking at some photos that I took when I was out there, but it's the apartment building that is directly adjacent, and the stairs you're talking about, it looks like there's a stockade fence, and then it turns to chain link. All right, and those are the stairs you're talking about that come out, and then there's the playground area. Does the playground area go with, and then goes with those apartments?
No, those are part of this plan.
That's ours.
That the playground?
There's two,
Okay, that's what,
there's two fenced-in grassed areas.
Yep.
One is directly across from our front door, and there's a tree inside the chain link fence, and it's grassed in. The other side goes to the parking lot of what's the dentist office. And then there's another chain link fence area next to it, closer to the building, that has old playground stuff in it from the former school. It's also been fenced in with broken fence, but it's fenced. There's the two separate lots, I think.
okay. So where the playground material is now, that is what's going to become the proposed open space?
Open space, correct.
Okay, okay,
Right there, Jerry, I think he's alluding to it. Do you have a-
okay, and that's the spot right there, okay.
So it says proposed open space, you're gonna clean that up, but it still remains open space? Okay. Okay.
And I think certainly, the landscaping plan can do a lot to make this a little bit more residential and without trying to, I think, compromise the original appearance of the building. And I think you used a very interesting word to describe it. And it's a period piece. I get the same feeling I get when I pull up to the JFK Plaza when I looked at it. So it certainly is certainly unique building in the city of Lowell, there's no question about that. And it looks like a fortress, the way it's built. Obviously, I think any condition will be subject, and I think everybody knows that, subject to the landscape plan. And I think that I would urge you to really take a lot of care with that, because I think, and even that little courtyard area, I think can really be enhanced for the residents that are even there, not so much even the streetscape, but just the residents that access that. And I think as part of the landscape plan is keeping that, it is very, very tight between that building and those apartment buildings, is that really has to be maintained clear and not having plantings that are going to affect the apartment building. I do like the fact that the mechanicals are down in the basement. I was concerned until I obviously looked at the package, but obviously it's a building that lends itself to put everything on the roof, the way it's designed. But obviously, I think you've taken that into consideration. And again, these conversions are a unique situation, not a lot going on. It's site plan review, but there really is not a lot going on as far as the structure itself. I think the zoning board of appeals addressed the parking. and you do have the appropriate parking. So from that perspective, I think, I think it's a project that, and to speak to a few people that spoke in favor, you can see where there perhaps it could be a magnet for some undesirable behavior back there. So I think that addresses that issue as well. So from that perspective, Mr. Chairman, I think it's overall, it's a pretty good project that's come forward on this.
Thank you, Mr. Fischett. Mr. Malovich, any questions, comments?
The only comment I have is I would like to see a better landscaping situation in this project. That's really, you know, not to be the dead horse, but I think that's key to making the site work.
Yes.
Mr. Snetsky?
If I could just address that a second.
hold on. Sure.
As I mentioned, you know, we're architects and landscape architects. We fully intend on doing a very appropriate landscape plan for this project, not only for the public areas outside of the building and around the building, but also in the courtyard and in the parking lot. It always makes sense to, you know, have sufficient tree planting in a parking lot for the vehicles, so, you know, for shade and comfort of the users. We understand all that. Also, on that little side strip between this building and Mr. Lazarus's condominium building, that's got to be cleaned up. I mean, it's really, you know, weeds that have grown into almost trees. And all that's got to be removed. You know, first of all, it doesn't help marketing these units for that to be there. It's going to be made to look good. There won't be new large trees planted there because it's too tight for new large trees. However, there are other types of landscape treatments that might work well there for this property as well as for the abutters. So we fully intend on doing a completely aesthetically tuned landscape plan for the project.
You know, especially that little courtyard.
Right.
How you treat that, that could be a really lovely little oasis space, or it could just be a depressing concrete pit. I mean, and it completely depends on how much thought and how much effort is put into that. That's really a canvas. You know, there are some people who think, well, if it's a small area or if it's a hardscaped area, that landscaping becomes less important. But no, exactly the opposite is the truth. That makes
I agree with
creative landscaping that much more important.
I completely agree with that. And I think that our approach would be to, particularly since the building is so hard, you know, the perception of the building is rather blockish and hard. I think you need landscape in the courtyard and around it to soften it up for the pedestrian. Not just, you know, for the aesthetics of it, but for the pedestrian to feel more comfortable. So that'd be part of our approach. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Snetsky, any questions, comments?
I have no other issues at this time. I think everything's been more than adequately addressed. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, Mr. Lockhart, you said you had a follow-up
We
question?
I don't see any reference to the fire department here in the documentation. You've had discussions with them regarding the development?
They didn't comment at all. Fire department, nope.
They've received the project application with the project review team. We never received a written memo from them regarding their project, this project. I know Christopher McWhite, the building inspector, did consider fire rating safety for the building itself and the construction, but in terms of site access, I don't have anything from the fire department.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any board members have any follow-ups? No? I have no questions. I think everything's been adequately answered. So this matter requires a site plan review and a special permit.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan review, subject to a landscape plan, satisfactory landscape plan to be approved by DPD, and again, to come before this board if there is an issue with the finalized landscape plan. And I would make it subject to confirmation from the fire department that they have no concerns with the project.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made and second for the approval of the site plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Chair votes yes. Site plan approval is approved. 5 in favor and none against. So now we need a motion on the special permit.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make,
Go ahead, George.
no, Mr. Chairman, I just make a motion to approve the special permit incorporating the previous conditions from the site plan.
Which would be the landscaping plan and approval by the fire department?
department.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second again by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. The chair votes yes, so that matter is approved. 5 in favor, 5 against. And just as a note, can you keep Ken up to date on the contact information? So he wants to deal about that noise. He wants to get to speak with somebody anyway.
Yeah, they should.
Can you exchange information with them, Attorney Flynn?
I think he has my information. He got my letter, so.
Okay. That way, if they're in the neighborhood and he's there, maybe you want to go over and say hello and see what's going on, like most neighbors do, which is always a good thing. Okay.
Usually.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.
Wish you well.
You didn't Saturday, did you?
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay. We'll just take a quick 2-minute break before we set up for the next matter, and the next matter is going to be 109 A Street. Take care, good luck. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
I'm surprised to see from Union National Bank, they've all signed off on that. I was like, oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, I ski Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, we brought my wife.
Trying to get her here tonight, she wasn't aware, yeah.
It was, we went out skiing, then we came in, took a break at 9 o'clock. It was -1 with the wind chill was -19. Oh, Saturday was good, yeah. We stopped in, one of the restaurants, get a bite to eat, and I said, hey, how's things going? The guy, he says, well, half our pipes are frozen, so we're only running hot water. I said, have a glass of cold water? He goes, you test it, yeah.
Not a bad looking little house.
Vacancy is death. Vacancy is death in a city, in a traditional neighborhood like this. This isn't simply a side yard, this is a vacant lot.
That's one of
It's the, yeah, it's like in the dictionary. It's like in the dictionary vacant lot. I don't think it's owned by an abutter because I was looking on I was looking online on the GIS and it still shows a building footprint on that lot. There used to be a house.
Okay, can I have your attention, please? We're going to start back up again, please. Okay, we're moving along. We're on for special permit approval, 109 A Street. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family home on an undeveloped lot. The subject property is located in a traditional single-family zoning district. The applicant requires special permit approval to reduce the required frontage under section 5.1.17 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
George Theodoro, 133 Market Street, representing the applicant, Loon Hill Development. And contained in the materials that we passed out tonight, I wanted to focus on the neighborhood itself, on A Street. As you know, we're looking to reduce the frontage of this lot to meet the requirement. It's 55 feet. The requirement in zoning in this single-family neighborhood is 70 feet. So with respect to the special permit, we can reduce the requirement for the frontage to 55 feet. We believe that if we take a look at the existing streets, or if we take a look at the size of the lots on A Street, you can see in the handout that I gave, was between Puffer Street and New Spalding Street on the same side of that this 109 A Street is located. Our lot, which comprises 55 feet and 6,325 square feet, there's only one other lot on that side of the street that exceeds the size of the square feet that we have. With respect to the frontage, our lot is the same size as the existing house next to us at 105 A Street, which is 55 feet of frontage and 6,325. As you go down A Street, the only other lot on that side of the street that has more square footage than this specific lot is down at the end of the street, which is 139 A Street, which has 7,200 square feet. When you go to the other side of the street, again, there are some lots there that have less frontage. There are several lots that have 40 feet of frontage, a few lots that have 50 feet of frontage, and lots that comprise 4,000 square feet and some 6,000 square feet and 5,000 square feet, less than the number of square feet that we have. Although the size of the lot itself is not a specific criteria for obtaining the special permit, the fact that we would, if we are successful in this, in building a new single-family home in this neighborhood, contributes to the community, contributes to the character of the community by having a single-family home which would be maintained by the homeowner. It would contribute to the tax base of the city of Lowell. Presently, for all these years, we have seen that this lot has been collecting only for land only, that we would anticipate having a single-family home that could have significant value of over $250,000 to $275,000. That would, again, contribute to the neighborhood by increasing the property values of the neighborhood. So I would ask you to consider all of these factors and weighing the factors that are needed to be addressed with respect to the special permit. And I'd also like you to pay some attention to the assessor's plan, which was attached right here, which lays out our lot. And if you compare it to the rest of the lots in the frontage there, it fits in well with this neighborhood. So there will be no derogation at all if this is passed to the value and the character of this neighborhood. So, and what we also did in this situation here is we did reach out to the community. I emailed the entire package to the Highlands Neighborhood Association. I communicated with the Highlands Neighborhood Association, Nancy Judge. You have comments which are in your file from Nancy Judge, who's the chairman, also from Don Denome, who also is involved with there's an email here which I would read to you. It says, "Hi Nancy, Kathy and I went by that at 109 this morning. We both agree that few, if any, other houses on the street have much frontage. Many have just a sidewalk and front stairs. Also, the lot is an eyesore at present and would benefit from a makeover. Neither of us see any serious issue with this proposed house." Notwithstanding this positive comment, also a positive comment from Ms. Judge as well, there were people who are against this. However, if you take a look at the existing lot right now, which is overgrown, undeveloped, it contributes nothing to the character of this neighborhood at all. Bringing in someone who's going to spend capital to make an investment with the city to build this single-family home is worthwhile, and it promotes the values and character of this neighborhood and of the city. Loon Hill Development is not new to this. They have developed several properties in the city and have been active for many years. Namely, they built a development at 417 Hildreth Street, which is known as Down East Crossing, which consisted of 34 units. Furthermore, they built another development, condo development on Watson Street, which consisted of 20 units. They also did another 5-lot subdivision off of Regis Street in Lowell. And I'm just naming a few so that you would be aware that this applicant has expertise in building a good home that would be a benefit to any property owner who is able to buy it. So with that being said, you have the materials before you. I would ask that you would act favorably on this. We also have to obtain a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the lot area per dwelling unit. It is 6,325 square feet, and the zoning requires 7,000 square feet. So we are scheduled to appear before the Board of Appeals at this coming Monday's public hearing. So once again, we did reach out to the neighborhood and the community. We did forward everything to the neighborhood board for their review and for their comments. So I would again ask that you act favorably on this application, and we look forward to answering any questions that you have.
Thank you, counsel. Anybody here this evening want to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? In favor? Anybody here want to speak in opposition? Come to the microphone, please, and state your name and address.
My name's Dan Phelps. I live at 105 A Street, directly abutting the project. And like Mr. Lazarus at in the last instance, I'm not sure opposition is the right word. We're right next door to this and are very, interested in how it shakes out. It is, quite frankly, an unsightly lot right now. It's overgrown, and I do my best to take care of my small sliver of land between the two lots when it gets too overgrown on our side, but I can't do the whole lot. We're really just concerned about, quite frankly, we've lived there for 20 years and kind of always known something was going to happen with this lot eventually. It wasn't going to stay this overgrown lot. So we're really just interested in that there are no adverse effects to our property or to our quality of life when the construction is going on. Just want to ensure that a good project goes in there and doesn't hinder our quality of life in any way or our property values. That's
I'm
it.
sorry, where'd you say you were in regards to this
I'm at
house?
105, from the corner of A Street and New Spalding.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank
If you're
you.
looking at the
So you're
lot,
105, okay.
to
thank
the
you.
right of the lot.
Oh,
yes.
to the right, okay, so you're directly to the house to the right?
Correct.
Okay, I got you, okay. Thank you, Dan, okay. Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, I'll turn it over to the board members. Before I do that, counsel, I see on your plan, it says that one time this was parts of lot 33 and 34, which was, so would those be lots adjacent either right or left, or?
Those were lots to the right.
Okay.
Those were lots to the right, and let's see if I have a registry plan here.
So there was a,
What they did is the owners of 105 and 109 A Street sold off the house that Mr. Phelps lives in. They sold it off and split the lot in two with two equal parts, both having 55 feet of frontage, both having 6,325 square feet.
so they own his parcel, they didn't give the whole parcel, that's
Right,
part.
they split it in half and sold that house to him approximately 20 years ago, and the other lot remained there undeveloped.
Okay. So his lot was party 34 and this was lot 33 or something like that?
They actually,
Or
if you-
vice
if you-
versa?
they actually carved up the lots a bit,
Okay,
so it's not as clean as that.
oh, okay, all right. So there might have been some from the lot to the left as well?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
It
Well,
just
came from the-
comprised those two.
Okay, all right. That's the only main question I had when I saw it on the plan, okay. Okay. Any of the board members have any questions?
Was this ever its own lot which had a house on it?
No, from what I know from this right here, it never had a house on it. What exists on there right now is there is a shed on it that exists, that's on there right now, but it never had a house on it.
That's surprising. It's so consistent with the platting of the lots down the street.
And if I may also comment, with respect to the comments that we had from Ms. McCall, that our elevation showed a deck and showed a bulkhead, and just to ensure that we wouldn't require any further variances, we did an amended plan we distributed to the board tonight to show those on this plan right here. And as it turns out, we were sure we didn't, but we showed them on the plan, and we don't need any further variances at all, other than for the undersized lot.
Mr. Bull, you have any further comments? or?
Yes. What's before us tonight, we aren't actually to approve this project. We do not have the authority to give them the go-ahead to build a house. What's before us tonight is to approve a special permit dealing with the amount of frontage required in the zoning district. It's on the table as 70, and there is a section that by special permit it can be reduced down to 55. If we grant that permit, the applicant is still required to go before the zoning board of appeals to get actual approval for a house. So we're not technically approving a house, we're approving a lot. And on the narrow question that's technically before us, the 55-foot frontage is entirely consistent with the block, with the area around it. I would support the project just on those grounds, but we do have it in our authority to look more broadly about the project as a whole, and on those grounds, I want to say that in a city neighborhood like this, I live in a very similar neighborhood, 4,500 square foot lots on my block. I'm up by the water tank. Vacancy is death. Vacancy is blight. This isn't open space, this isn't green space, this is a vacant lot in the neighborhood. And there's no advantage to having an overgrown, trouble-attracting, trash-attracting vacant lot in your neighborhood. Even if you think the houses are a little bit too close in the neighborhood, having one of the lots be a vacant, overgrown lot doesn't do anything to help that situation. It's just destructive to have that kind of vacancy and blight in a neighborhood. I did look over the email comments, and there was one of them that made some claims about a nearby property and problematic activity that was going on there. I don't know the truth of that claim, but I'm sure everybody in Lowell understands that if you do have that type of thing going on in one particular property in the neighborhood, having vacant lots around certainly doesn't help solve that problem. It only makes it worse. So I would support putting this lot back into the productive use in a manner consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, strongly on its merits, exactly as I would as if I had this sort of overgrown vacant lot on my street.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle.
Mr. Malovich, any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to concur with my fellow board member. A vacant lot, it's been there that way for 20 years, according to Mr. Phelps. I think it's time to improve the neighborhood by building on it. And this single-family house seems to be an appropriate use and is consistent use to the whole neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malovich. Mr. Lockhart?
I agree with everything that's been said so far, and I support
Mr. Snetsky, any questions,
the
comments?
frontage.
I agree as well that would be in keeping with the neighborhood, and I would be in favor of it.
Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would agree with everything that's been said regarding the benefits of not having a vacant lot such as it sits. But I do want to go over section 5.1.7, 5.1.17, on page 33 and 34 of the zoning code. Because one of the, and Mr. Boyle was correct in saying we're not approving the construction of the home, and you're going before the zoning board of appeals for the lot. But a very important part of this section is that the planning board shall not grant a special permit under this section, section 5.1.17, prior to receipt of a written design review comments from the Department of Planning and Development, or 45 calendar days following the termination of the public hearing. So certainly from this here, we want to make sure, and I know we received the plans here. I don't know if the abutter saw these plans at all, not till tonight.
We went over them with him tonight, and, you know, we're open to keeping the lines of communication open with Mr. Phelps, to ask him to, once we go forward, make further detailed plans, to give him copies of those as well, and to keep him informed.
Because the key to have this, and every time we've applied this throughout the city, is the idea is if you are going to allow the construction of a home on a reduced frontage, forget about the lot size, but this reduced frontage, is it's understood that it can work, but the design of the home is paramount in having that work. And there's examples throughout the city. Harvard Street is a good example of where really it's a beautiful home that was built over there. But I think that's a critical part of what we have to do here this evening, is to make sure that from a design perspective, that this is an appropriate fit to the house and is not going to be a detriment to the neighborhood and to the abutters. So from that perspective, I don't, Christina, has DPD, I mean, we didn't get anything official on comments on this, so I just get your perspective on it at this point in time.
We don't have official design review comments from DPD, but our office felt that the elevations submitted were appropriate for the neighborhood. But obviously, if you have concerns or wish to see additional design or would like to get a written review from DPD, we'd be happy to accommodate.
Mr. Frechette, there were, in the comments that were provided for where we had amended the plan to include the deck and the bulkhead to show that we didn't need any further variances, the building department did weigh in and didn't have any comments with
Yeah,
respect
no,
to
this is more, we can actually get to the granular level of siding material, and, I mean, we've done this before, how we want the fluting of the trim. So, I mean, it's to that extent, depending upon what the abutting properties look like. So
It's important to keep it consistent with respect to the neighborhood, to the street, to the abutters, to keep it in character, and we certainly understand that. It's not something that we would necessarily come before you and have that available to you tonight to ask you to act on the plan, which we would ask you to act on this special permit, only because to develop and formulate all these plans, as you know, is a very, very costly procedure, and we wouldn't want to take that step until we would have the approvals.
What I would be proposing is for any, and again, we haven't taken a vote, for any approval this evening, it does provide for all 45 calendar days following termination of the public hearing. What my recommendation would be is that the applicant work with DPD and any concerns the abutters have in the design of the home, and for DPD to submit comments to this board for final approval. And if we have any issues with it, then it would come before this board to address.
That would be fair.
We've done it similar before. What we've done is we've approved it, it's gone to the zoning board of appeals, then after you have your final design, you sent the applicant has sent the copy to us to review it, and then if we feel it meets the criteria, then staff signs off on it. If we have any questions on it, we actually come before us. But we've done that on 2 or 3 places that way, so we just basically know that, I mean, as Mr. Fischette, that's conceptual plan there, but once you get all your plans done by the ZBA, you know exactly what you're gonna build, if you just give us more than just a conceptual.
Yeah, architect.
Dan Chasey, Loon Hill Development. More than happy to work directly with Mr. Phelps or any other neighbors who might have some concerns as far as materials, design, window types, number of grills, all that architectural type stuff, because my intention is not to come here and make a mess of somebody's nice neighborhood. We're hoping to improve things. And just to go one step further, I'm more than happy to work with Mr. Phelps and his concern about not disturbing his peace during construction hours.
Yeah, that would be good.
I don't intend to have anybody banging nails there on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'll be more than happy to even give him my direct cell phone number. So anyway, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any of the board have any follow-ups or not? What's the request of the board? So we need a special permit if we want to reduce the frontage.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval of the special permit to reduce the required frontage under section 5.1.17.
I'll second.
Motion
Can,
made and
can I, subject to, Mr. Chairman, the condition would be subject to submission of the written design comments from DPD for final approval by the planning board. If the making the motion would agree to that.
Yeah, that's better.
So, the motion is modified with the condition as indicated by Mr. Fischett, Mr. Lockhart?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion made, and second with the condition. Motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any in opposition, hearing none? Chair votes yes, so the special permit has been approved. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Just as a further comment on this, as you're in your discussions with the staff about the facade and the design, if you were to add a front porch to this design, I guarantee you'd win my support.
Okay,
A 6-foot deep front porch.
Farmers porch.
Yeah.
So they can sit on
Me too.
Okay, moving along, we have two matters that do with ordinances. Okay, the first matter we have to do with an ordinance, we have a special permit granting authority, amend the Code of Ordinance of City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 290, therefore entitled zoning, by amending Section 11.3 entitled Special Permits, specifically subsection 11.3.1 entitled Special Permit Granted Authority, and by amending Article 12 Table of Uses. We, let's see, this one is... Okay. We received a memorandum from Eric Slagle, which was the amendment, and Mr. Kennedy and members of the council, the attached vote would submit to the planning board the attached amendment to the zoning ordinance, which would make the planning board the special permit granting authority for any proposal which also requires site plan review, and change the table of uses for several specific uses that reflect the change. The code ordinance by the City Council of Lowell, Code of Ordinances as amended on 2008 and 2004 by inserting a new sentence at the end of subsection 11.31 as follows. In cases where proposed required site plan review, the planning board shall automatically become the special permit granting authority for any special permit that proposal also requires. And number two would be the amendment of Article 12, would be Article 12, 12.4G1, drive-through establishment, adjust the special permit designation to be with the planning board instead of the zoning board of appeals in the following zoning districts: SMU, RR, HRC, OP, LI, and GI. And Article 12G, 4G2, drive-through establish, adjust special permit designations to be with the planning board inserted on the, instead of the zoning board of appeals in the following districts: SMU, RR, TMU, UMU, HRC, INST, OP, LIGI. Another one is Article 12, Section 12.7F, telecommunications facilities, adjust the special permit designation to be the planning board instead of the zoning board of appeals. And I believe the last one is Article 12.10A, plan unit development. Adjust the special permit designation to be with the planning board instead of the zoning board of appeals in the following districts: SMU, RR, TMU, UMF, UMU, DMU, HRC, INST, OP, LI, and GI. The ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with Section 1.7 of the Lowell zoning ordinance and the provisions of Chapter 43 and 40A of Mass General Laws of Massachusetts, signed Christine O'Connor, City Solicitor. So, just by asking staff, can we get to how this came about, or who was the presenter of the change for the ordinance?
Sorry, a city councilor proposed the, sorry. We are conducting a comprehensive zoning amendment, and this, as you mentioned, these amendments are designed to streamline the process for the applicant so that they are, rather than going to two boards for approval, they are just going to one, which would be the planning board.
Makes sense.
So this more came from staff, from DPD, I should say then?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anybody here this evening want to speak on the special granting authority? Which is basically giving the planning board more power and taking more away from the ZBA for those instances.
Essentially what it is, yeah.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Deb Forgione, Chairman of Pawtuckaville Citizen Council. We are totally in support of the change and for the reason that is stated. And also, going to these meetings the way that groups do and people do, when you get to the site plan review, that's where the meat and potatoes are. A lot of discussion goes on. It's really vetted in the planning board. So where the special permit comes in this is where a lot of the work happens, and what they said is streamlining it as well. So we just felt that that was the best decision for individuals and groups. And I also just wanted to come and tell you that it wasn't just a quick ordinance written up and designed and sent along. There were 2 zoning subcommittees where the public got to speak on this and talk about it. So people came forward and everyone had the same exact feeling to streamline it and also be able to be at the board with meat and potatoes are, where you really get to talk about a project and get solutions and more information and details. We also had a citywide neighborhood council meeting about this. And again, there were 9 neighborhood groups, and we all talked about it, and we all felt the same way. So it didn't come lightly. It didn't come just like one quick suggestion. It's been talked about. It's been, people have had a chance to talk about it and give their feelings, and it's been really a positive. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Anne Marie Page. I sit on the executive board of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group, and I am the outgoing president of the Centerville Citywide Neighborhood Council. And we've had several meetings, and we've pulled it apart and chewed it up and spit it out, and I'll give you the Sesame Street version. It's good. So we do support this ordinance, and we will look for your support in protecting our neighborhoods. We thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on the ordinance? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, I'll turn it over to the board member. Do you have any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, we'll start with Mr. Fischett.
Just on planned residential developments, and I don't know, Christine, if you or Patrick were attending any of the meetings that took place, but, you know, my history in zoning goes back 20 years ago when I was representing a neighborhood, and we put forth a lot of changes in the zoning ordinance, and we saw a lot happen during that time period, and the chairman's going to recall what I'm going to point out here. On a planned residential development, it was a project on Westview Road, and the residents actually brought forward to the city council, and it was put forward for a change. And if you look at page 82, section 8.2.1 on the planned residential development's purpose, the special permit granting authority was taken away from the planning board.
And given to city council at the city council's request.
Yeah, and it was given to the city council.
They didn't want us to touch it.
Yeah.
That's right.
They wanted all the power.
And I was very much involved in the thinking, in the sense that it was that neighborhood that really brought that forward. But I remember sitting with Adam Backey and discussing it, because we wanted this out in Pawtucket to be taken off the zoning code. We didn't even want this as an option, okay? And there was reasons for state funding that you had to have it in, and you had to have some projects are approved. And we went along with it, and part of having the city council on there was really to say, you know what, this is could be such a drastic change in the density. Is there political will to do this? And so send it to the council, let it become almost a political battle, and to see if the political will is there for it. And that was the thinking behind it. We're having honest, frank discussions about it. And I just, you know, and again, a lot of the people are gone now, and I just want to make sure that hasn't been forgotten in the debate. You know, and again, giving more power to the planning board. As I sit here, as a resident of the city of Lowell, if you are comfortable with the people here, that's one thing. We're not always going to be here. And that's to say you may not always be comfortable with the people that are sitting here. And to have a second bite of the apple obviously gives you some, you know, another chance. Now, I've been at that other end, where now you got another meeting you've got to go to. Now you've got another presentation. Now you've got, and a matter of fact, it becomes confusing. And then you make an argument, and one board says, oh, no, that was at the other board. And then you're at that board, and oh, no, that's addressed at the other board. And it's very frustrating, and it almost feels like the system is rigged against you. It really does. So from somebody who's sitting here right now, I like the idea of putting it both together. I just want the residents to kind of feel comfortable with that. And I think that particular part of the ordinance, I think that needs to be discussed as far as the planned residential developments. And maybe the feeling has changed now. But I know that was the purpose behind that. I don't know, did anybody from Highlands and Westview Road area, did anybody attend any of those meetings, do we know, Christine, at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But as one of the neighborhood groups did say, there were extensive zoning subcommittee hearings on this zoning change. I was not present at them, so I don't know if the council would have brought up that they were losing.
Well, do they even know that's what's happening with this vote? You know, because it looks like power's being taken away from the zoning board of appeals. Not power, but I mean the decision is being taken away from the zoning board of appeals, given to the planning board. I'm not necessarily sure it's understood that this vote is being taken away from the city council, and it very well may be.
And
but
I think
it needs to be part of the discussion.
Of this ordinance wasn't, for the record, to take any power away. It's about streamlining it for the applicant.
Yeah, no, and again, that's why I say it's not a good
ZBA.
phrase. Yeah.
I think to what you said before, you're a board that's always changing. The council is also always changing. So I guess it could go both ways. I don't know if the city council realizes that with this. I'm going to say because they referred it to you and there were zoning subcommittee meetings, they do know that they are taking it away from themselves. I don't know if it was ever discussed on the record that they were doing exactly that.
On number 5, it says that we get the special permit instead of the ZBA, so was it ever changed from the council to the ZBA?
Yeah, see, that's not correct in the,
Or is it still with the council? Because I was in the impression it was still with the council unless it had been changed prior with, which could have happened without, you know.
Are we talking about section 8.2 here?
Yes.
I'm talking about the planned unit development, which
Right. but
went to,
Are we referring to where it's,
Yeah.
Mr. Frechette, are you referring to where it's referenced in section 8.2?
yes, yeah, 8.2.1,
Right, because 8.2.1, at least in the, assuming I have the most recent version, says the city council,
Yeah.
not the ZBA. So this ordinance as written
is not correct.
is not correct.
No.
yeah, so that's the only question I had, whether it had been changed by the council to give it to the ZBA along the way somewhere, I don't recall, but that. Deb, can you answer that? I know you're standing there
Well,
helpfully.
Actually, we were just sitting over there saying, how could we have been in all those meetings and it's being interpreted that way? We never, ever intended it to change at all as far as the city council went. We just, the streamlining part, that when there was a special permit, to just not go to both boards, because so much of the work is done here, that's how we interpret it. We just heard, like, we never, ever had a discussion about the city council not being involved anymore. So is it written that way?
No, so you're referring to planned
Development?
residential development, and the zoning ordinance is planned unit.
Unit development.
Development.
Ah, I stand
Okay,
corrected.
So, we are not taking anything away from the city council. We are,
Well, I
we
know
def-
some city councils don't want to do it anyways.
No, no, but
We
They
define,
said, planning board can have all of that stuff.
a planned residential development as a land use category allowed by special permit that may include the subdivision of land for multiple residential buildings and other compatible land use activities as outlined in section 8.2 herein, which you discussed earlier, Member Frechette. But then the planned unit development is a mixed-use development on a plot of land containing a minimum of the lesser of 60,000 square feet or 5 times the minimum lot size of the zoning district, or as otherwise indicated in this code, in which a mixture of residential, open space, commercial, industrial, or other uses as permitted in the underlying zoning district and a variety of building types to be allowed by special permit as provided for herein.
So
it is
I stand
not the
corrected. Okay.
Westview Road example.
Okay, so this is a planned,
Unit
instead of
development.
residential.
oh, I mean, okay, I
So
missed
more
that.
of a
When
mixed
you saw the
use.
plan
Mixed use,
development,
okay.
yeah, it jumped out
Never
at me
mind.
too.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you, okay.
Thanks for clarification on that.
Whew, okay, well, I feel better, actually, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't remember the last time we used a planned unit development.
Yeah,
but,
that's good, Jerry.
Me either.
Remember
I can
all that.
remember
Very
residential
limited
development
areas,
unit
I
that we
think, where
approved.
it could
yeah,
potentially go.
yeah, well, okay. I feel much better about that, okay.
Yeah.
So, my apologies, because I misinterpreted that, so. All right, good. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, again, from a streamlining perspective, I certainly can understand that. I know that was also viewed as another level of protection, but certainly, it's certainly for the applicant and for the abutters and the neighbors, if they can come out and address it with one board, it's less confusing. And certainly, we do get into the granular detail. But again, I just think it's important for everybody to understand the fact is that then whatever the decision of this board would be, would also incorporate, you know, both the site plan and the special permit, and there would not be another opportunity to go before another board unless there was a variance that was being requested. So I just, from that perspective, aside from what I thought was a change in the planned residential development, I certainly can understand the intent of the change here. And I'm still, to be honest with you, I have mixed feelings about it, but thank you.
Hey, any of the board members have any comments? Mr. Lockhart?
And I'm all in favor, I would just simply say I'm all in favor of streamlining the process. All we can do in this regard makes it more attractive for developers to come into the city and invest additional funds. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. Mr. Snetsky?
I agree with the comments been made about streamlining.
Mr. Boyle?
I I'm particularly found the testimony of the neighborhood leaders particularly useful here. When we talk about, when people talk about streamlining a permitting process, where my mind at least immediately goes to, we're going to make this easier for the applicant. And that can often come at the expense of those who might oppose a project, such as the neighbors. But I think hearing what you had to say is very useful, that this is going to help neighbors interact more with the permitting process. So, yeah, I'm in favor of the proposal on the technical grounds on which it was presented, but also on those additional grounds, especially on those additional grounds that were brought up tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Malovich?
I agree with my fellow board members. I think that streamlining takes a variety of efforts, and I think the fact that we dig so deeply into particular projects in the special permit and in the site plan review, I think it would probably be a lot easier for the general public to understand where we're going with this particular project if it was just here. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Okay. The only comment I had is, I read the proposal. My main question was, how did this come before us? And obviously with the answers that were given me from staff and from Neighborhood Association, I appreciate those. I have no problem with the amendment as stated. I mean, as indicated, some people would rather have two boards look at something instead of one, but I know we have it already in our zoning codes. We just approved one tonight on Academy Drive where we had the special permit and the site plan. So we have it on other matters. It's not unique to us to make decisions on a plan that comes before us for the site plan as well as the special permit. And I also know if a thing goes to the special permit from the ZBA, it has to incorporate all our conditions in the site plan. So by the time, a lot of times, we get done with all the conditions on the site plan, kind of narrows down what their conclusions may be anyways. I've never had the benefit of appearing before the ZBA, but watched on TV before. So I know it's difficult for the neighbors to come out twice with their busy schedules and everybody's busy schedule to address matters. And I know as things get continued, it's tough for the neighbors to come again and again and again. So when it comes out for public hearing to begin with, the support of all the people, we get more the in-depth review from the neighborhood and all the people who are present that night. And I think that's a good part, so I have no objection with this amendment as requested. So at this point in time, let's request to the board for either we go along with the ordinance or deny. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we recommend approval of the ordinance.
We have a recommended for approval by Mr. Boyle.
I'll second the
Second by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, chair votes yes. That special permit agreement authority is approved, so that goes back to the council for approval. Pat, do you know when the council might be taking this up? I know when we approve this, it goes back to the council later.
that would be
David,
interesting
definitive
to hear.
date, you know?
The 14th, March 14th.
Okay, all right. So anybody who has any concerns on what we did on this matter tonight, it will be before the city council on March 14th for a public hearing. Thank you, Pat. Okay, the next matter is ordinance for unregistered vehicles. This is amend the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 290, therefore entitled zoning by amending Section 4.3 entitled accessory uses, specifically Section 4.3.52 entitled special rules by insert new language at the end of subsection 2 regarding the storage of unregistered vehicles at residential properties. Let me just read this ordinance. It comes up as the attached vote for the planning board was sent, would allow the storage of a single unregistered vehicle on residential lot. It would amend the code of zoning. The storage of which currently reads, the storage of an unregistered vehicle and/or repair of a vehicle is prohibited unless otherwise permitted by the respective use district. and placing the last sentence with the following language. The storage of any unregistered vehicles at residential property is prohibited unless otherwise compliant with the provisions of this ordinance as follows. 1, a limit of 1 unregistered vehicle per property. 2, any vehicle stored on a residential property must be covered with a tarp or similar material. 3, the vehicle must be parked on an impervious surface. 4, the vehicle must be in operational condition. 5, no repair on the vehicle of the property is allowed. 6, the owner of the vehicle must obtain an annual unregistered vehicle permit from the city. Under 6A would be automotive repair facilities, including auto body or paint shops, shall be allowed to have unregistered vehicles on the premises, provided that all servicing and repairs are carried out inside the building. The parking of the registered or unregistered vehicles is allowed outdoors for this use, but must be screened in accordance with the conditions set forth in section 6.1.9 of this zoning ordinance. The number of unregistered vehicles allowed shall be up to 3 times the number of repair bays. Stowed vehicle lots may also be stored unregistered vehicles, but must be screened in accordance with the conditions set forth in 6.169 of this zoning ordinance. And then again, the ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with section 1.7, Lowell zoning ordinance, and the provisions of chapter 43 and 40A of the general laws of Massachusetts, approved to the form Christine O'Connor. So, can we get some background on how this matter ended up before us, either Patrick or?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. We have a board enforcement agent who issues tickets for unregistered vehicles at properties all the time. Obviously, we have problem properties that have multiple unregistered cars, but we also deal with a lot of residents that have perfectly good reasons for having unregistered cars. That you get a warning, and then you get a $300 ticket, and there is a municipal hearing officer process to appeal it, but oftentimes, if you have a student at school, if you have an active military member in your family, you're stuck paying this $300 ticket. So it often comes up in at city council agendas, on city council agendas. They can't do anything about it. So we have discussed, I think in the past, they have allowed active military members to have unregistered vehicles. And then there has been discussions for exceptions for seniors, for college students. So instead of piecemealing all these exceptions, we've decided that it's probably more appropriate to allow for 1 unregistered vehicle to be on a resident's property. These are a list of conditions that we've sort of put together to try to help enforcement keep it clean, but obviously they can be changed depending on how members feel about particular conditions.
Thank you. Anybody here this evening want to speak in regards to the proposed amendment of this ordinance?
My name is Bill Morowski. I live at 61 Elliott Drive in Belvedere in Lowell. My wife and I have lived at this residence for 48 years. On my property, I have parked a 68 Dodge Charger, which was a gift from my wife's father, or late father. The car was registered last in 1979. It has sat in my yard for the last 38 years, meeting most of the criteria, covered, operational, the full 9 yard. Last May, I got this little notice from Sean Machado and the zone people that I had 2 violations. 1, an unregistered vehicle and parked on grass. The fine was $300 a day. Low, $600 a day, just about put me at the cardiac arrest.
I'm sure that's what you did when you heard that.
Who wouldn't?
Needless to say, I contacted an attorney, and we've gotten in touch with Eric and Sean, and they've been great. You know, they've postponed it, they've did this, we'll work with you. I've gone through 10 months worth of hell waiting for the phone to ring and say, we're through working with you. This new provision is great. You know, 1 unregistered, I can live with that. Parked, covered with a tarp, it's been covered for 37 years. It's operational, it has monetary value to me, it has sentimental value to me. According to Haggerty, 68 Dodge Chargers are going to increase in value significantly this year. Great, but again, I'm not holding on to it for that purpose. My son, who is very into collector cars, he's got Barracudas and Mustangs. This falls in the same criteria. If I had a garage, believe me, it would be in a garage. The new code is great. I agree with it. It's covered, it's unregistered. My only concern is this impervious surface. They tell me an impervious surface is either hot top or brick or pavers or crushed stone. It's been sitting on grass for 37 years. I mean, it's not leaking anything, trust me. But if it has to be on impervious, I will put it on impervious. The operational condition, it runs, it's fine. No repairs are going to be done on it because, like I say, I'm not a body man. I'm not in that profession. The only other question I had was the unregistered fee. How much is it? How do they know that my vehicle is covered under this fee? Did I pay the $50? Is there going to be a tag on it? And if so, how do they know when they drive around, say, hey, he's got an unregistered vehicle? You know, I love the city. I just feel like I got attacked back in May for a $600 a day fine for a vehicle that's been sitting there for 37 years. My neighbors have never complained, and I don't know how it got turned in. They tell me that somebody dropped a dime. Sorry, I offended some neighbor, obviously, but as far as the new, yes, I think it's great. I think the 50, I was told that the permit is going to be $50. I don't know if that's true or not.
Let me ask staff, does either one of we know if there's gonna be a fee, or how long it's gonna be for, or? I mean, it says a permit, doesn't talk about a fee. It says, the owner of the vehicle must obtain an annual unregistered vehicle permit from the city. So do we know if it would be?
We just
I think an annual,
updated,
they mean yearly, I imagine, right?
yeah, an annual,
Right, per year?
we just updated our fee schedule, so I am not confident to say if there is a fee and if there is, how much. I do know we were definitely going to be requiring folks to register. The idea was to register with the city so that we could keep a database.
My last conversation with Eric and Sean, they had said it would probably be $50. It may have changed. This was,
Yeah,
When I
because, see,
picked
and the
up-
ordinance doesn't tell us.
when I
what the-
picked up this document.
Here, it doesn't even mention a fee, it just says
Oh.
a permit, so we're not 100% what that would be then, okay. So at least we think it's gonna be a year, but we don't know what the fee would be.
So if you've got any questions of me, please hit me with them.
I do have one, if you don't mind. When I saw this, it jumped out at me, and I didn't have much objection on it. The question I had was the top over a car. I mean, if my neighbors park on my street and they have a car there with no license plate on it, hardly anybody knows it. You put a top over that car in that neighborhood, everybody in that neighborhood's gonna notice a top on that car. To me, I think the top is more unattractive than a car sitting there without a license plate. That's just me. I don't know what your feelings are. You've had on, and some people, I know if you don't have the proper top and do it the right way, it holds the condensation, the car rusts out
Oh, it
faster.
does, absolutely.
And I'm sure if you've stored a car for that period of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always kept it covered just for the sake of
It's dripping on it, whatever, and
out of sight, you know? But I've never had a complaint. We've had people move, come and go, and I could show you pictures which I had submitted to Eric and folks. You can't see them from the street. My backyard's it's all trees and brush and things.
because since I've read this, as I've gone around the city, I've noticed more cars with tops, but I don't notice cars without. I've only noticed a couple of cars without license plates, and that's when I was doing site plan reviews on the projects that were before us tonight.
Yeah.
Up on Academy Drive, I saw 3 without a license plate. But besides that, if I see a top, I don't even have to pull off a side street to see the top. I just think the top just really says bullseye. That's my opinion, but I just wanted to see what your concern was, since you've had it for so long a period of time and been involved in it and put a top on it, you know, would you prefer to have it not topped if you didn't have to? Or?
Keeps it cleaner, but, you know, going by what the code has always been, I'll top it. I'll do what I best to, you know.
A good citizen.
To keep it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak in regards to this ordinance change?
Deb Forgione from Pawtuckaville Citizen Council. He really said it all. We did have meetings. We had 2 zoning subcommittee meetings about this. We had a citywide neighborhood meeting about it. And at first glance, I thought, why would anybody change it until you can hear every reason why? And all the changes are really for a positive because it's more regulated now that you actually have to get a permit for it. So it's not unaccounted for. So everything that he just mentioned is really citywide. We're not a city of garages. And a lot of people have the same situations he does when people go away to college, or if you buy a car for your son or daughter before they go to college. So with all the meetings that we had and you hear all the different stories, it's got merit, and we totally were behind it and support it. The only thing we didn't weigh in on is the second part. We know through 1 through 6 about the cars, but when it comes to the automotive repair facilities, we didn't weigh in on that, so can't help you there. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deb. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Anybody else like to speak on this ordinance change?
Anne Marie Page, Citywide Neighborhood Council. And as Debbie had just said, we did pull it apart and tear it to pieces and went through it. And I think it was because some people had abused it. In regards to this gentleman, it sounds like he wasn't abusing anything. And I don't know if his car falls under the category of antique. I know people that have antique cars and they are able to store them. And like you said, if a car was just sitting there parked, you would notice it. The minute you put a top on it, everybody looks at it. But I think the reason why it was put together and we supported it was because some were abusing it. You'd drive by and you'd see 2 or 3, 4 cars not registered piled up in a yard, and it just got shabby looking. But maybe you can find out if this gentleman is grandfathered in or if it falls under an antique car. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak with the ordinance change? Anyone else? Okay, this time I'll turn it over to any board members. Any questions, comments? Mr. Lockhart, can I start with you?
I have no concerns about it. I think I did have a concern about the repair facilities, but I think it's pretty well covered and defined. Particularly the number of unregistered vehicles that are allowed, up to 3 times the number of repaired bays. I don't have any issues or any questions.
Mrs. Snetsky, any questions, comments?
Yes, I, in general, agree that this is something that should be regulated because it can be abused. However, I question the top as well. I can understand the rationale of the impervious surface. And the no repair allowed, I can see where that could get out of hand if, blanketly repaired were allowed, but for someone to be able to work on their own vehicle, on their own property, I think, perhaps a resident should have that right. So that would be a concern to me.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Donetsky's comment on that too, I just, that's what I was wondering is what the level of repair, if it probably
Eric Slagle addressed that, and he said that there was no way the city could there was no way that the city could verify every time somebody was changing oil in the yard if it was a business or not. And basically, the biggest problem they had was people doing businesses. That was really the problem. So this, if we're gonna go and give people the right to have unregistered cars, there has to be a compromise to take the burden off the city and not have them be policemen throughout the city, that every time they see someone changing oil, they're not gonna have to decide whether they're running a business out of the house or not. So, but he did address it. It's in, it's one of the meetings we had. It's taped, it's on film, but he did address it emphatically, that the city didn't have the resources to monitor that. So.
Thank you.
Well, and similar to your comment, Mr. Chairman, on the top, you know, and again, we get an ordinance that's presented to us to either vote on, and we can certainly comment on, but giving a recommendation as presented as to, you know, whether we feel it's should be adopted by the council. But I think in general, I think it's an appropriate measure to address what I think this gentleman has outlined with his particular situation. And I think as Deb Forgione pointed out, is that, I mean, we are not a city of garages. There are a tremendous amount of homes with just a driveway and, you know, do not have a garage to store a vehicle in. And somehow this attempts to provide some flexibility, but not to allow it to get out of hand so that it becomes pretty much an eyesore. And I understand not wanting to have it on somebody's front yard, and that's really, you have it on the impervious surface. So it's in the driveway, not sitting on whatever green space a particular property may have, and have a car sitting there. So from that perspective, I certainly think that it's well crafted. I think on the automotive repair, I mean, it is subject to screening, as noted in the proposed ordinance. So I certainly, overall, as written, I certainly feel it's overall adequately addresses the concern. I would concur with the top. And I still think that number 5, no repair of vehicle on the property is allowed. I think that becomes and I understand the challenge there, and I think that needs to be discussed. Because even from that perspective, there's still some policing that has to take place. Because if somebody's out there working on it, and there's an ordinance that says you can't, so to that, Christine.
Right now, you're not allowed to work on your car at all. This is just, we wanted to make sure we included that in this provision. So it does give our enforcement agent a little bit of teeth, that if he comes across an unregistered car and you happen to be working on it, and then he also notices that it's on him.
Prior to this, they didn't have any.
It's written in our code of ordinances. You're not allowed to work. You're not allowed to change your brakes, do your own oil on your own property.
And now by incorporating it into the zoning.
It's also going to be a requirement of an unregistered vehicle.
I think that satisfies my concern with that, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for staff. Does this only apply to exterior storage of vehicles? Are we forbidding people from having an unregistered vehicle in their own garage?
Nope, they can have it in their own garage, because if you close the garage door, we can't regulate that.
Okay, so that you're telling me something de facto, but de jure, it would still apply in people's own garages. I mean, is there any language or anything that differentiates it, or is it on people's property, is what it appears to me? And what you're saying is the city wouldn't actually be able to enforce it in that circumstance?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. If it is in someone's garage and the door is closed and you drive by, how would we know it was in there in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying, and I can definitely put that forth for clarification in the recommendation. But this ordinance was a direct result of a combination of things, much like the interested parties that are here tonight, and also problem properties that park on grass, and there's multiple, in the front yard and the side yard. So it's to address more that issue, I think, than if it was just in your garage. And I can't speak for our board enforcement agent, but I don't think he would have written if he just happened to drive by while someone was opening their garage and walking out, he would have stopped and said, oh, there's an unregistered car in there.
I suppose the garage would meet the covered and impervious surface conditions. Okay. I guess the answer to the question is, how would we know? I guess we'd know the same way that the city found out about this gentleman's, what was in this gentleman's backyard.
All of our tickets are a combination of things. Complaints from neighbors, complaints from counselors. Also, our board enforcement agent and health inspectors and building inspectors are out on the road all day long. So it could happen that I don't know the situation, I just know that it could have been a building inspector down the street for a building permit and saw it, and then our board enforcement agent is the person who writes the ticket. So they would have, so it could have been a combination of things, but our board enforcement agent does travel the city every day and writes a lot of tickets for unregistered vehicles.
As well as should, sure. I think the chairman is right about the requirement that vehicles be covered. I think it does just draw more attention. Overall, I think it's a sound idea, and if we're given a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I guess I'd lean towards thumbs up. But I think there are some. I think there are still some open questions that I hope can be taken up by the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Malovich?
I think that, this thing is probably intended to stop the multiple unregistered cars on lots or on property. And I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that the top is a red flag to say this car's unregistered. And I think that if the car is in good condition and doesn't appear like it's being picked for parts, the ordinance covers that fact that it has to be operable. But I do have a concern about someone who is restoring an old vehicle, and, I did that in my father's driveway when I was younger, and the car couldn't be on the road, but, it didn't offend anybody because it was a classic, and I'm sure this gentleman here, when you got an old 68 vehicle, it's an antique, and I think more people are concerned that, oh boy, he's got one of those, than it's a junk. So I think the ordinance is probably a good start, and like anything else, you can fine tune it if things don't work the way you intended.
Thank you. Any further comments? Is this on the council agenda for the same night, Pat, or is it different?
Yes, it is, on the same night, March 14th.
Okay. So it's up to us to make an approval on this. I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance, and with the discussion that maybe they, discussion from maybe consider whether we should go with the top or not. Let the council know that, because the fact that I think that would be more of an eyesore and more of a bullseye than if it's just a car without the unregistered plate. Make a motion that we approve it with the discussion being, consider maybe not going with the top, because I think, I know basically, like, in my neighborhood, I'd much rather drive down the street and see an unregistered car than seeing tops on them. I really would. then it makes it feel to me, I mean, you're in a residential neighborhood and you start seeing all these tops, you're gonna think you're in a repair shop neighborhood. You really are, because you're gonna say, top, top. Say if 4 people out of 8 houses are out there with tops on their car. They could all do it in a residential neighborhood. So you're gonna walk down, and you're gonna say, wow, am I in a residential neighborhood, or am I in a repair neighborhood? That's my concern, I mean, so everybody could put one top outside their house, I mean, I think it's an eyesore, but. So I'll make the motion that we approve it with the discussion that I don't feel the top is appropriate, I think it's more of an eyesore, and actually would be a detriment to the neighborhood.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So therefore, that matter will go with our recommendation to the council on that day.
Good, the tarp is good.
Thank you very much.
Good
Okay,
point.
moving along on the agenda, we have a preliminary site plan, 205 Market Street. The applicant is proposing the construction of a 50-bed hotel in the redevelopment of the existing Athenian Corner restaurant. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, George Theodoro, representing the applicant Stavros Panagitopoulos, who is the owner of the property at 205 Market Street and 38 Shattuck Street. This is a very exciting project in that what we're proposing here is the development, construction of Lowell's, the city of Lowell's first boutique-style hotel. It's a proposed hotel of 52 rooms on the site where the Athenian Corner is located in the parking lot. The Athenian Corner restaurant will be redeveloped on the first floor of this premises, where it will be accommodating approximately 120 seats. And the hotel will be built around it. And along with that will be we are in the historic district, and the property at 205 Market Street is a historic building. Records with the City of Lowell Historic Commission indicate that it was constructed, that building, somewhere around 1896, and they used it was the owner at that time was a Mr. Putnam, and is known as the Putnam Building, and we are in ongoing discussions of design review with the Historic Commission, and we have to eventually obtain approval, and that is in process. With respect to the project and parking requirements for the projects, we fulfilled that by having a letter from the city, which is with our filing, which indicates that we have the required parking spaces of 55 to be leased from the city. So that's not an issue. What I would like to do at this time is just introduce some of the members to you who will be part of this development. Mr. Timothy Grover is here, who is the owner and founder of Madison Security, as well as a principal and developer of the Megan House and the great work that they do there. Also, and I would like Mr. Ted Panagitopoulos, the son of Stavros Panagitopoulos, is here, and I would like to ask him to come up here to say a few words with respect to what this means for the future of their business, the proposed boutique hotel, and also what it means to their family. So if I would ask Ted to come up, and then we will hear from Mr. Hammer of Landplex, the engineer who will go over the site. We also have Mr. Ken Friel here, the architect, if we need to go over some further parts of that project. But it is our hope tonight to just give you a brief overview of the project and just to show you how the site will work. Considering that the entire hotel will be sitting on the site, but there are quite a few issues that we've been working out. We've had multiple meetings with DPD in the city and the department heads already with respect to the design of the site, and I assume that will be ongoing.
My name is Theodore Panagitopoulos. I live at 305 Dutton Street, and I'm here representing my family, which has owned the property, as Attorney Theodoro mentioned, at 205, 207 Market Street, and 38 Shattuck Street, and we have been operating our family business there for over 42 years. We've been looking to develop this property and do something with it beyond what is there now for over a decade. We have finally come up with a plan that we believe greatly enhances our business, our property. We think it greatly enhances the downtown neighborhood, especially the corner of Market and Shattuck. And we also think it enhances the city of Lowell in many ways, because it gives it something that folks have been calling for a long time, a boutique hotel, a hotel in the downtown central business district. We've been able to put together a very talented team, which I'm going to cede the microphone to in a quick second so they can explain it to you. But we look at this as something that we're all going to be proud of. The hotel itself, the theme, will pay tribute to the city of Lowell, to its neighborhoods, and to its people, especially the immigrant people who have helped create the city of Lowell and made it what it is. And specifically in my family's case, a family that came here in 1961 on a plane without enough knowledge of the English language to ask for a glass of water on the plane. And through hard work and perseverance and a little bit of luck along the way, they've created something for themselves, a very successful business. And I see this ultimately, when we look back, when the project is complete, as something that my family is going to be incredibly proud of. This is going to be my family's legacy, I would like to hope, in the city of Lowell. And corresponding to that, I think the city of Lowell is also going to be able to look back and be proud of this project. So we're excited about it. We think it's a fantastic project. I hope you folks will like it, and I'm going to let the team kind of present it to you. Thank you.
Can I just ask one question?
Of course.
Didn't you have proposal to build this up years ago? They came before us for condos, right?
We have been looking at a number of...
Because when I saw it, I said, I remember a long time ago, more than a decade ago, right?
Probably going back to about 2006 or so now. So we've been bouncing ideas around since 2003. The economic downturn obviously didn't help.
I think we approved it, and then after that, it didn't go, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
but we've been, this is
I was talking to council about it. I said, I remember they came in a while ago, and I said, it might have been when the turn was with economic, and it just phased out or whatever. But I said, I believe that we granted what you requested, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So what I would like to do at this time is to ask Matt Hammer to come up and to go over a bit of the site.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Matt Hammer with Lamplex. We're over at 10 George Street in Lowell. And we've been retained to do the consulting, surveying, and civil engineering on this project. And essentially, what's going to happen here is the existing building here, which is the current Athenian restaurant, which is showing a facade here on this elevation. In your packets is also some other elevations that show a better perspective of that existing building, which will retain its existing natural character to it. And then there'll be an addition to that existing building, which will be a 5-story hotel with a restaurant on the ground level. That addition will be here, which is shown in brown. With that addition, there'll be a one-way entrance access road off of Market Street that'll come through in this direction here and then exit out onto Shattuck Street. The hotel itself will be 52 rooms. There'll be numerous multi-purpose rooms on each floor. And there'll be a restaurant on the ground floor, and we have floor plans for those, for the first floor restaurant, and an additional area that's going to be set aside for a retail space as well, which right now is going to be located in this area here. On the entrance drive, there'll be a sidewalk here on both sides, and the building extents will be here, and if you notice on your plan, it actually goes off of the lot line. So there's going to be easements and licenses with the city for that extension here, as well as easements for drainage systems that are going to be located under this area, oil and grease traps and things of that nature to provide all the underground utilities for the project. We're just going to need easements from the city, and the city's been very receptive to those. Additionally to those easements is going to be an easement for the extension here for this awning that'll be here off of the restaurant itself.
Can you lift that one up, if you don't mind? Thanks.
Matt, I do have to comment, because what I liked about that is it reminded me of the old Bon Marché building, because it had
Yeah, they
an
did
awning
have
on the,
something like
on the
that,
front, so that was, brought back a feature we haven't seen in a while in the city. But anyways,
It's going to be very nice. There's going to be this awning here with the name of the restaurant and the hotel on top of it, as well as some recessed lighting underneath. We're still working through some of the lighting schemes with the historic board.
Right.
We've had numerous meetings with the historic board. J.D. LaGrasse has been retained as the architect for the project. And there's been, I believe, 3 meetings so far with historic. There's been meetings with DPD. We've had meetings with the traffic engineer, and we've had meetings with the city engineer regarding this project. Let's go to the traffic engineer. We've provided, there's going to be an access drive in the rear, which currently right now is an 8-foot passageway on either side of the center line of the alleyway in the rear of the building. And there's going to be a loading and unloading area for the deliveries to the restaurant into that alleyway. We provided turning radiuses for a dump truck to pull in there, as well as a fire truck if needed. One of the requests by DPD was to have the dumpsters recessed into the building, enclosed with full doors permitting any visual of those dumpsters, so they'll be pushed out when they need to be emptied. There'll also be recycling bins in there as well. I know that was one of the comments provided by DPD. And that'll take care of this 8-foot section which we can utilize, which will be located here. There'll also be a curb cut here out onto Shattuck Street, which has been shown that the vehicles can come fully around from entering from the primary access off of Market Street. There's also going to be a temporary drop-off area which will be located here, which will be dedicated to the hotel, so that if somebody was to come down to Shattuck, they can just pull over here and drop somebody off if need be. We're also, it's a little bit hard to see, but right now the existing pavement is here. And we're going to be defining Shattuck out to this point here and doing a sidewalk improvement to Shattuck Street, which will introduce new handicap ramps here, here, and here. There's an existing catch basin here which will be relocated as well. And that'll just more define the exit to that one-way on Shattuck Street. Additionally, related to traffic, is the crosswalk currently is over here.
Yeah.
We're going to relocate that crosswalk to this location. The existing island right now is here, and then that'll get shifted back to here. So this crosswalk now will actually align with if you're facing the National Park Visitors Center, it'll be aligned with the furthest to the right entrance door. So that worked out nicely in this location here. building itself is going to be utilizing some green roof technologies for this. I have to say that green roof technologies aren't necessarily conducive to New England and the climate. But we've come up with a way that we've seen work in other buildings where we're going to be having planters. They'll be 6 feet long by 2 feet wide by 2 feet in height, and there'll be planters that can be located on the roof deck on each unit. Each penthouse unit is going to have their own deck area, and there's going to be planters on the roof of this building to accommodate some green technologies into this design to help reduce the runoff, which right now is just 100% impervious going down into Market and Shattuck Street. The runoff will be going down into a collection system, and to the extent practicable, will be provided in a subsurface infiltration system underneath this area here, which is the valet area in the entrance drive. Related to this area will also be, have catch basins, grease traps, the sewer connections, and everything can be put into this area here, and you're going to see full design plan sets which are going to be submitted on Wednesday, which you'll see copies of those design plans. We're also considering doing a solar array set of solar panels on the roof of this building. We're taking a look at offsetting the energy consumption, as you can imagine, for a hotel is quite high. So we're taking a look at potentially, we still are in the process of vetting out solar on this building, but it's looking like we can put a decent sized set of panels on the roof with battery backup to offset the evening consumption, as well as consumption on cloudy days. And then it'll also help with emergency backup as well, without having to put the gas generators and everything up on the roof as well to deal with the restaurant going down in power outages.
Plus, you need all that lighting for the hotel, right? Once the power goes out, you need emergency lighting to kick in for all the...
Oh, absolutely.
In the elevator.
Oh, have to have it.
You
Yeah.
gotta have it by code, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to have emergency backup for the patrons of the hotel. And, so we're looking at that type of sustainable technology with this project as well. And additionally, this project has been well received from all the different departments we've gone in front of. And, these off-site improvements are going to be a little bit of work to do this project, but we feel as though they can be absorbed with the project right now. Those costs are starting to add up. But we're trying to make it work. We're also, if you go out to the site, you'll notice that there's a wrought iron fence out front.
Right on
No one's asked us to do anything with that wrought iron fence, but we've come up with a landscape scheme to incorporate those sections into this area here. And what we're going to do is have brick pilasters to connect the wrought iron sections.
Yeah, instead of the, yeah.
We can wrap that around and have that completely enclosed here, and what we can do is provide a knockout into this bench formation, which is between the two columns, and put a gate for access so that landscape area can be maintained by the hotel, and then they can have gate access, and we can obviously landscape it. And there'll be a green feature there out in front of the hotel. Additionally, you'll know, if you've been out there, obviously, there's some benches out there. And we're going to be proposing to put a bench out in front here so that the public can utilize that bench. And this will be a nice broad sidewalk area here now, so it won't be constricted with the the vehicular traffic and the pedestrians, and there's gonna be plenty of room for patrons of the hotel to be out on the bench to enjoy the outdoors, and for the public to be there as well. And then there's, related to the restaurant area, there's gonna be some proposed seating coming out. We're looking at doing some floor to this point here of doors that can open up to the sidewalk to get the restaurant inside and the sidewalk being able to be, to flow through to the outside, to the inside of the restaurant. The project will have a full valet service. We currently have a parking agreement from the city to provide the parking space need for the 52 spaces. And, you know, just like if you're in New York and there's no parking, you pull your car up, they valet it, it goes away. You tell them 30 minutes before you need your car that you need your car back, and the car will return. And that's the way that the parking will be facilitated for the project. The cars could be parked a mile away. It won't necessarily matter as long as it's there for when the people who are staying at the hotel can have their vehicle when they want to leave. I can answer any questions from the board.
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Rich. I was gonna ask, so the restaurant, are you adding a whole new restaurant, or are you just expanding the restaurant?
We're gonna, yeah, we have a floor plan.
I see that you have the original one over here, and then when you pointed there to the hotel, you showed a different area, so it's gonna be a different, you're gonna do a different restaurant in the hotel.
Yeah, the restaurant will be located on the first floor of the hotel.
So, I mean, the Athenian Corner restaurant's gonna stay as is, and then you're gonna put a restaurant in the hotel, okay?
Right, it'll be, located on the first floor of the hotel. We have the floor plan to it, and it'll be expanded somewhat to approximately seating for 120.
Okay.
120 more or 120?
120 seating for about 120.
From, what is it now?
I think it's about 60 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's small.
So the restaurant. Right now it's on the far right there.
It's right in here.
Right there.
Yeah.
This is gonna be expanded out to here.
Oh, okay. So it'll be one restaurant, but it's
Yep.
gonna be, okay, I get you now.
Yeah, and
This is still a design in the making.
yeah.
Okay. When you
Okay.
said restaurant there, I don't know if you meant two or just expand.
Nope,
Okay.
one restaurant. This would be the food prep area, the kitchen in the rear here. There's gonna be an emergency stairwell here, going up into, going downstairs. This is gonna be the trash recycling area. This is gonna be the receiving area, the bathrooms. The lobby's been transforming in the way that the lobby's gonna operate. There seems to be a little bit of wasted space in here, so we're trying to improve the efficiency of this space. This is the main stairway going up into the hotel. To the floors above, this is an elevator here. And then there's gonna be what we're calling a leasing area, which will be a retail space, which will be on this corner here. This actual leasing space area may actually start to come down into this area and give it more visible storefront on Shattuck Street.
Do you anticipate one leasing space? Or
One
two,
leasing
depending on-
space is right now. This is gonna be a privately run hotel. We're gonna be, this hotel's gonna be everything about Lowell. It's gonna be all different floors with all different themes related to the different neighborhoods within the city, and you're gonna see that this is gonna really be a hotel that's gonna be displaying Lowell within the hotel. You wanna see the roof deck?
I do.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
See how you shovel the snow off the roof deck.
Push it.
Right onto the Market Street. Watch out. That is gonna melt from the solar.
The top of that awning is snow storage.
Do you know the solar panels could
Yes, I'm aware of that, yeah. Yeah. I knew it was snow, but I don't know how much, to be honest with you.
3 inches, huh?
Here are the penthouse units up here. Up in here. There's gonna be, an area here which is, gonna be roofed, so when you come out of the unit, part of it will have a roof over it, over your head. And the other part will be open to the sky, which is in this section in here. The sun that comes across this area comes across like this. So this whole top is gonna get a lot of sun. Obviously, planters aren't gonna work without sun. So we're gonna see a lot of sun on this property, on the roof up here. And then on top of this, there's another sheet which has the solar array panels for right now that are proposed in the mechanicals. There's gonna be a multi-use room up on this roof deck here, which will have a big roof deck on top of it as well for outdoor entertainment. Yeah, so the existing building is gonna, get the historic credits for it. That'll be renovated with the existing facade to be the same as it is now.
Right.
But the interior of that space will be part of the hotel.
What is the current use of the upper stories of the existing building?
The second story is used as a multi-purpose room, and the 2 stories above it are not being utilized at all. Storage.
Multi-purpose room, is it like a function room for the
Yeah,
restaurant?
there's a small function room on the second floor.
And how many stories, I'm sorry?
5.
5.
5 stories.
It's gonna be wood construction.
Yeah. Matt, from an historic board standpoint, I did talk to Steve Stoll today, and he's our administrator, and I know you've been working with him. And I think you might have a meeting tomorrow, I'm not sure.
Yes, sir.
I just want to reaffirm the board's commitment as a resource to help you develop this in a really nice way that you've obviously got a good start on. We're committed to helping you and provide you with the resources that you need to finish this up. I do have 2 questions. Can you speak a little bit to the materials that you're proposing here?
Yeah, and I can have Ken come up and go over some of the, Ken Frey is the architect from
I
JD
think it might be
LaGrasse, can answer
interesting,
some
yeah.
of those material questions.
So my name is Ken File with JD LaGrasse & Associates. I'm a senior architect at the office. And I'm just going to put this down. So we're working with the historic board right now on materials. So I'll start from the existing building and work over to the new. This is the existing building. This level of windows right here are actually covered up by awning right now. So that will be completely ripped off. And the bottom facade now has a lot of brick with a small window and a little opening to it. This is actually the restoration of going back to some historical photographs that we have. This is what it used to look like. So this is restoring that back to its original state. Then we move into the new building. What we have here is a combination of, right now, we have brick at the street level, because that's where you touch and feel, right? This is where, as you walk along the street, this is where you feel, and it's a much more pedestrian, tactile feel. And it's in keeping with all the other buildings on this street and a continuation of that. what we have on the addition of the building, we have a combination of different types of smooth metal panel that we have been talking with the historic board about. We have it vertically oriented.
Yeah, we've used that other places, yeah.
So the white smooth metal panel, we actually have as two different widths. And we've broken it up architecturally in the massing style in keeping with other buildings in the neighborhood where you have the ground level, you have a double-story middle, and then you have a separated top portion. And that's how we've aligned our elevation as well to, again, reminisce about this is how the architectural vocabulary of this part of the city is set up. And that way we have right here a thinner vertical metal panel, but you can see again our double height space here. We have the white metal panel that we're proposing right now to reminisce about the church that actually used to be on this spot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there was a white church there. You can see the outline of it against the building. So it's reminiscing of the church, but it's also reminiscing about Greek history and the Greek heritage of Lowell, of the owners.
Yeah.
We are incorporating this blue piece, we call this, it's really a transition from the existing building to the new. And we're in discussion with the historic board. But again, the blue and the white of reminiscing of the Greek history. And again, we're keeping in proportion with the existing buildings there. We do have a wood underside of the canopy, the Athenian corner and signage along here. We're working with the historic board on potential some blade signage. There's some proposals of wanting to have some pedestrian blade signage along at the street level. And the penthouse level, you can actually see here, that's actually the penthouse level beyond. So we're starting, you're not, the top level is set back. So you're not really reading that unless you're further away, and that speaks more to the city in and of itself.
And one other question, one of the issues that we were asked to get involved in this past year was downtown lighting. And I mean, you know, there's historic lighting around here, and that goes through the historic board as well.
Yes.
I know you got a lot of glass on there, and you're gonna get a lot of light spillage out, but is there anything you're doing along the sidewalk areas or to keep good lighting?
Yeah,
pedestrian use, particularly.
Let me put this one up for right now. Let me put two up here. We have. That's actually one of our topics of discussion with the historic board tomorrow.
It is important.
Yeah, it absolutely. And Stephen and I have had some email exchanges. He has a recommendation of a potential lighting designer that the city is already working with on some other projects. So we still have to engage in those kind of conversations. The intent of these initial conceptual drawings is that we wanted lighting on the building. Now, what that lighting ends up being, obviously there's a process to decide that. But we do have building lighting to accentuate the building, but then we do have lighting that is along the pedestrian level. Now, what that is and how that gets to be done, we're still working through that, right? But we want it, right? Because that's part of the activation and safety of walking along that street. So yeah, there's almost several layers of lighting. There's the pedestrian level, there's the building level, and then there's the kind of almost citywide, the city side of it, where we're starting to light up a little bit of the penthouse level as well.
Good, as long as you're addressing that, that's.
Absolutely, lighting actually accentuates the architecture too. So,
right,
it has a twofold advantage: safety, lighting up how we want the street, and architecture.
What else?
Okay. Any other architectural questions?
Not this time, no. Anybody
Okay.
else, architectural, no?
Great.
Matt, can I ask, where that parking lot is now, in the back delivery area, wasn't there like some old railroad tracks there or
Yeah,
something?
there is, it's referenced. in
Yes,
the
yes, there is,
So what do you do
Chairman.
with those?
Well, we're gonna leave them
Okay.
right there.
Huh?
We're gonna leave them right there.
I mean, do you have to do anything with the railroad or anything, or are they just abandoned, or what happens, just?
The railroad tracks that are there, they go all the way down
Yeah.
to the other end. We can't touch, we can't do anything with those at the present time. Those aren't within our jurisdiction at all. The deed line or the property line goes halfway into the passageway, 8 feet in. And the adjoining property owner on the other side owns the other 8 feet in. Now, one point that I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to do this with the city, maybe start with the building department or DPD, is the fact that years ago, those railroad lines went all the way down across Middle Street and all the way up there across Shattuck Street. When they redid the cobblestones on each one of those areas, somebody obtained permission and to take those lines out, because those lines were removed. So I think we're gonna get some more information and investigate that.
This is, the owners, there's an easement on that alley, each owner owning, right, okay.
Yeah.
It's not just owned to the center, okay.
If you go out there and you look across Shattuck Street, you'll see a playground train next to the train museum. What do they call it?
Over that way.
Yeah, so that small museum there, there's a little play train that's directly across Shattuck Street, which is on the track that aligns with this alleyway. And that connects to the spur that comes off of the railroad, the active railroad. So I think what happens when they go outside, they go out and look directly down this passageway and they see this fragmented amount of track that's exposed. But they're actually, they need to be a little bit graded differently because they are ancient. But we want to make sure that there's no water that's going to be reintroduced to this new building because of that alleyway. So we're going to be doing some slight grading in the rear, but just want to make sure that the water's not going to be shedding towards our building with an active drainage that goes from Shattuck Street all the way down to Palmer to 2 catch basins that are next to the sidewalk between the Fuse Bistro and 133 Market Street, which is on the corner of Market and Palmer, which Mr. Theodore's law firm's in. But we're proposing to reduce some of that runoff by taking the roof runoff instead of it just going down into that alleyway to introduce that to our subsurface infiltration system to alleviate the drainage that's currently going down that alleyway.
That's nice. I wanted to talk about the extension, the bump out of the curb and extension of the sidewalk in your landscaped area. First thing I want to draw everyone's attention to is look how much they are shrinking the pedestrian crossing distance across Shattuck Street. That was really a very long crosswalk. That by itself, I think, is a significant public improvement. City has done projects to do that very thing. The thing up in Centerville on Bridge Street at Jewett in Hampshire. That's a great advance by itself right there. Talking about that space, I see you're adding a couple of trees, and then you've got proposed green space written on there. It sounds like that exactly what you're doing with that is still in the design and conceptual phase.
It is essentially what we're going to do, like I said, is take that wrought iron sections, connect them with brick pillar surface, which will line up with the same material as these walls. So it'll transition nicely around that.
I think that's great, but I think it's important that you think, not just visually in terms of materials, but also think about this space and it as a space that you're programming. If it's just a lawn with a couple of trees on it and it's cut off from, and it's fenced off from the sidewalk, it's going to read, it seems to me, mostly as like a traffic island in front of your hotel. I don't think that would necessarily fit so well with what I was hearing a lot about, how much thought is being put into pedestrianization. I'm thinking that you need to think about that triangle, what's shown in here in green, as well as the sidewalk in front of it. So if you imagine that as a triangle that extends all the way to those outer curbs as a piece, and think about how that would be laid out. It looks like you've got a bench there on the corner in the city's right-of-way, and then a fence behind that, and then your space in there. I'm not which colored green here, it just looks like you're putting in a grass lawn. I think that could use some more thought about how you're doing that. You're kind of squeezing the trees into your space. There could, I believe, though, that they're currently sitting in public tree pits. So,
So this area hasn't been designed yet, the
Okay.
interior of this space.
Yep.
Our thought process was related to this space was to, these will be two sidewalks, so pedestrians can do a cut through if they needed to, from Shattuck.
Yep.
Okay, so this area we know will have pedestrians walking through.
Your driveway, you mean? Yep.
Okay. Our thought process was, in order to maintain a more manicured garden, was to make this garden not accessible to the public to just go into it, to have it fenced off, but to have it accessed from the hotel so they can maintain this garden, and so it's just not, a place that the public can readily go in and utilize that green space. That was our thought process on that. We did, however, want to put this bench, and obviously this broad curb here is obviously for the public in the city. It's your land. But that was our thought process, is to keep this manicured, to put a gate from this entranceway off the sidewalk so that it's not a space that people go into on their own, and that it can be just meticulously maintained and taken care of by the hotel. There are going to be two trees. There's two locust trees there now.
Yep.
We're going to be proposing to have those removed. We haven't spoken to the tree warden yet, personally. We haven't had that meeting yet. We were thinking about having one shade tree, ornamental, in this area here, and obviously taking design considerations from DPD on the use of that space. It's just something that actually has been incorporated in the plan in the last few days. DPD has not even seen this design yet.
So this idea of a fenced-off, manicured garden space in front of the building, between the building and the street, is there anything else like that downtown? I can't picture any examples. The one thing that might be slightly comparable is at the end of Market Street, between Central and I think it's Prescott, where it comes to that triangle. That was
The Enterprise Bank,
yeah.
not the Enterprise.
That was grassed for a while. That was actually green, and they took out the grass and they put on more of a hardscape with trees type of a design, because that fit better.
With the bell there.
Yeah. where the bell is.
You know, originally, when this,
Liberty Tree Park.
Liberty Tree Park, yeah. No, yeah, nobody can get in there.
originally, we were not proposing to do anything in here.
Yep.
We were just gonna take the city's recommendations, if they wanted a graded tree
Yep.
put here, or the two moved over, and have it a complete hardscape for the public to fully utilize. That's obviously the city's right. We were thinking that this might be something that the city would adopt, and to have that space maintained by the hotel instead of it being a burden for the city to maintain that space. What's that?
I can certainly see the thinking there.
And then there was another, this hasn't been set, but, you know, they wanted to do some sort of, potentially some sort of recognition of the Ted's family, potentially there, or something along those lines. But it's really something that obviously would be full input by the city with whatever happens in that space.
So let me just say where my mind's going with this, and then I'll stop. Further down on the site, you've got the sidewalk seating outside the restaurant. That is a public. It's positive the way it sort of blurs the public and private space. It's the public sidewalk. You're putting, but you're getting that private use of seating for the restaurant, but yet there's the big public benefit from having that private use. So it isn't this sharp division between public and private. But then we come to this corner, and you are proposing that sort of sharp division where there isn't really anything comparable to that in the area. I don't even arrive at I don't even have a conclusion here. That just would seem to be sort of an anomaly, and you know, maybe that's great. Maybe it's just something, just a unique asset that would work. But I was thinking, for example, of if you have a sidewalk cut across that to make like the third leg of the triangle, and then pushed so that pedestrians were going like that, and then as opposed to going, you know, around, then potentially that whatever the landscape area needs to be could be a little further into what's currently the sidewalk, and it would sort of be more of that semi-public space like your like the sidewalk seating. I'm not sure exactly where to go with this, but I think it's got some more programming and planning about what to do with that and what would fit and work with the immediate neighborhood. I don't know, maybe it'll end up being exactly what you said. It just seems to me that there's options worth considering here. What else did I have? We've got yes. Very good with that the crosswalk does end up lining up with the National Park Service. You were talking about the parking before. It sounded though you were talking exclusively about hotel room parking. What does expanding the restaurant do to your parking requirement?
We really don't have any requirement for the parking for the restaurant downtown. But what we will offer with respect to patrons of the restaurant is valet parking. So they can drive up to the restaurant and we'll valet their car off and have it ready for them when they come back.
And you have no requirement for parking because there's generally no requirement for restaurant parking in the DMU?
Yes,
right. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, and this very last comment from the bike pedestrian coordinator, worrying about the ability of pedestrians to pass past the sidewalk seating. What are the dimensions there?
Oh, there's actually 9 to 10 feet if you want to include the curb, but obviously there would be a barrier set up to only be extending out 5 feet so that you have the required 4 feet for pedestrians to pass by.
Okay, those are my initial comments about the design. It's a very positive project. It's exciting.
Great project. What's the timeline? Do you have any clue yet?
They want to have this hotel built immediately. So they want to have this hotel fully constructed before the end of July next year. So they have an aggressive schedule. They're trying to work their way through this in an expeditious manner. And they want to start, they want that foundation in before it starts to get cold again this year. So they're ready to go. And Mr. Timothy Grover here with Ted has everything worked out. And they're moving forward with the architects with getting this thing ready to go
And
and fully constructed.
They're obviously somewhat comfortable that there'll be the demand for 50 hotel rooms in downtown Lowell.
Yes.
I'm curious who who are they targeting? UMass parents, Greek
The
relatives?
university, business folk who, could be on 495 who just want to come into the city of Lowell where they currently can't do that now. And it's not a huge hotel. It's, it's 52 rooms. And they feel as though the time is now to do this.
Interesting.
If I could just comment on that, it's nice to see the project coming forward. If anyone has followed Jeff Speck, and the city has had him come and speak at the Lowell plan several times, his plan, and basically it is an answer to a large hotel like the DoubleTree that really couldn't make it in the downtown, but felt like the boutique hotels were really a good fit for the city of Lowell. And conceivably, the city could support a couple of these, ideally. And so it's taken a long time from when I think that first concept was presented here in the city of Lowell. And so from my perspective, it's nice to see. It's nice to see this finally come forward. And I think it's probably a great central location. I could see people coming to the folk festival wanting to stay at that hotel very easily, and all the activities will be going on right below the window. So from that perspective, like I said, it's exciting to see the project come forward. I have a vote for the green space, but we'll see how that all plays out when you're with the final design. But no, I think I like what you're doing, and with the blending the old with the new, and we've seen that element used, the Tremont Yards with the brick facade at street level, but yet when you step back, it has a modern look to it. So and yet, as you explained, it has the rhythm of the other buildings, so it maintains that. So from that perspective, I think it's you're hitting all the major points that you want to see with something like this, and I'm looking forward to the project coming before us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That being said,
Good luck.
Yeah,
we'll be
thanks
back
for everyone's-
April 3rd.
April
You know
3rd.
where we are.
Thanks for all your input. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have one more matter. We have an administrative change, which is 1 East Merrimack Street. Clerical change in the name of the applicant from Kennedy Waterfront Trust to 1 Riverfront LLC for the approval at 1 East Merrimack Street for site plan review. This is just administrative change to change the name. Doesn't really make an effect to us because the site plan's all been approved except for the name, so I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. And any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries. Moving along, do we have any further comments from board members?
Historic board meeting a week from tonight. Not sure of the agenda yet, but this is on there.
Any other
Discussion anyway.
Okay. Any other comments from any of the board members? Okay. Any further comments from staff? Not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second?
Motion's been made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion's adjourned, it's been approved. Good luck and thank you, everyone. Have a good night.